Hello.
You're live, it says. Well, welcome to the porch.
Wow, what a look.
We're on the porch
What
here.
a look this is.
Right there and read.
I can tell which, when you try and do your hair in a, fuck it. It's 1,000 fucking degrees.
So
That's
earlier,
why my hair's all wet.
I took a shower and then I fell asleep with wet hair and then I woke up like this and I was like, maybe I'll do something to it before the stream. And I was like, what am I going to do that's not going to turn it back to this? So
I was like, I'm going to go dry my bangs.
Factory setting. But you're not here to look at our hair. You're here to talk about a travesty that's been occurring in the legal profession that my friend turned me on to.
Few cases have absorbed me the way this one has. Mm-hmm. I feel like I could give a TED Talk at this point.
You could. You did. You have.
Because I watched so much coverage, and shout out to all the content creators out there and journalists that are covering this case, mm-hmm. because we haven't covered it yet. Mm-mm. I think we may, but
it's unfolding.
I'll make sure to shout out people's TikToks and stuff that
as
we've been watching. If you hear the squeals of a pig in the background, that's because I have a pig and she's in the backyard.
Yeah. Squealing. There's also the loudest cicadas in the universe.
Yeah. It's real fucking loud out here right
Texas
now.
For you, baby.
Yeah, contrary to my shirt, we are not in California, and this case also does not take place in California. It takes place in Boston, Massachusetts.
Shout out if you're in Boston in the chat. Let us know if you've heard of this case. I saw some of you said you'd seen the headlines. Others said you weren't familiar.
I thought it was like everywhere. Yeah. And then recently on social media, people would be like, what is this about? And I was like, oh, fuck. I thought everybody knew about it. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to, because I don't know. This is just speculation, but I'm going to say this is probably one of the most corrupt police departments to have ever been put on trial.
Oh, yeah.
In our lifetime. So, I mean, I think it's going to go down in the history books, and it has been very eye-opening to think how many people don't have the means to hire the best attorneys you can hire to get you off of murder charges, mm-hmm. that end up in prison because of being framed or, mm-hmm.
No,
you're right.
It's
oftentimes insane how many people are just fucking flat out lying on the stand. I can't believe that. I can't believe it's not a movie with starring Mark Wahlberg.
Right.
I honestly can't.
There's no way it's
fake. It seems fake.
No, but I think you're right. And I think normally when we see this type of evidence of corruption come out, you see it in the appellate phase after someone's been wrongfully convicted and spent 5, 10, 20 years. And then somebody's kid finds a letter that they typed or whatever. Mm-hmm. But nowadays with this digital mm-hmm. evidence, it's like things are getting caught so much faster. Just like with DNA, physical evidence is getting caught, like frame jobs, and in this case, circumstantial.
Damn, Laura, you're not wrong though. I bet Baltimore could rival it.
Yeah,
everything I know about Baltimore is from The Wire, where they called it Baltimore. So I'm assuming that the crime rate is high.
But LAPD is notoriously
corrupt.
They're corrupt as fuck too. I think when you get large scale police forces like this, where there's a huge budget and it's impossible to have that much legitimate oversight, you have these pockets of oversight where it's like little mini mafias.
Yes.
So,
somebody said they were. Christina is from Boston.
There you go. What's up?
Well,
30 minutes from.
I'm curious, Christina, to know because from what I read, at least in Canton, and I don't know where you are, but Canton, which is outside of Boston. If I'm wrong, Bostonians, please correct me.
It's my understanding.
Like a suburb type thing, mm-hmm. situation. But from what I've read, the town's kind of divided. But a lot of people
are supporting the Albert family.
Are supporting her.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, lining up at the courthouse every day to show support with signs. And if you've heard of Turtle Boy, he's a YouTuber and big on TikTok. He's from there, and he's been covering this mm-hmm. case. And he honestly has done an excellent journalistic job of covering this. And he was arrested and is now even part of the trial because he was charged with harassing witnesses, because he is not afraid to show up at a sporting event where Jen McCabe is and just be like, why can't you explain why at 2:27 a.m. you Googled Haas to long to die in cold? I didn't do that.
So he
absolutely not.
So he chased down
a
witness?
Absolutely not. That's how she answers. And she said, and every time she's lying, she looks to the jury. She goes, absolutely not.
She sounds like most people have turned their ire towards this woman.
She is what I believe to be the puppet master, or she has control in the narrative for the entire family.
The Geppetto, if you will.
I don't believe she directly committed the crime, but they're all fucking culpable, and there were at least 12 fucking people were there when this guy was beat to death, and everyone's like, I don't know.
And
I don't recall. That is their favorite line, which is it sounds very coached, and they are too stupid to know when to use it. So, the attorney, my man Alan Jackson, and my main man David Yannetti.
Yeah, Alan Jackson.
Oh, he is a fucking baller, dude.
He's
one of the best trial attorneys, and this is such a power move that he's but yeah, they're all culpable, and in my opinion, they just are all straight up lying on the stand, and they got their stories straight. They had months to do it.
Yes.
And the interviews with them just didn't happen to be recorded. Apparently, that's not something the Boston PD does, is record their interviews.
I'm pretty sure they always
witnesses,
do, except for if it's
also,
a police officer.
If you were to be interviewed by the cops, would you go to the police station, or would you go to your living room and sit on your fucking couch while the detective was like, Paris, you need to go upstairs to your bedroom so I can interview your wife right now? And then you come down, instead of being at a police station and you're separated.
It's the comfort of your own home with them present.
Crazy.
Katie says, Christie's fired up tonight. You have no idea how fired up she is about this case. Before, I think we'll start at the beginning. Some people said, I don't know about any facts or what anybody's talking about, but you will. This is just
Can we share graphics?
We might be able to.
Or send a link in the chat.
Okay. Yes. Before that, though, up here, you mentioned Turtle Boy, and someone said please look up the Turtle Boy statue. Okay, Emma says, you guys need to look up the Turtle Boy statue in Worcester. Here's a Turtle Boy statue.
He has a fucking statue?
No, I think there was a statue
there. That's not of him, though. It could be.
Could be him.
That's funny.
Maybe that's where he got his name from.
Somebody said Turtle Boy is the legend around here. Dude. Some people are just built different, and I don't have that confrontational. But to answer your question, yes, he was arrested and charged with harassing witnesses.
Okay.
So, which,
yeah,
I'm not going to say he didn't do.
Or that he was wrong to do.
But also, I'm not going to say he was wrong to do it. And if you're just a person with a cell phone at a game and you talk to somebody, I mean, you're within your right to video that.
No, it's funny that you say that. I think we're moving into this new era of trial and real-time public interference with criminal investigations. You're seeing it with Micah Miller, that people are now getting involved with messaging JP directly and getting him to make statements. And then in this case, they're going out and chasing her down in the field. And as attorneys, you're always telling your client, don't say anything. I'm going to have to explain this. But when your client is a live wire, I think Jen McCabe or JP.
She usually does keep her mouth shut when he has approached her although she gave a weird laugh, smirk at what I would say is an inappropriate time. Ugh. But leaving the courthouse, she's just smacking her fucking gum. Like the trash she is, while he and her husband just has his hand stuffed in his pants because he
wants to punch someone.
Turtle Boy, he's talking to them.
Who doesn't want to punch Turtle Boy if he's in your face and you did a crime and he's onto you for it?
Yeah, I mean, not just him, but he's rallied so many residents, but also people that don't live there that are there to support her because
they know when it's a scam.
But when you really think about it, this woman's life is being just destroyed, and only because she has a lot of money is she able to clear her name.
No, I agree.
Hopefully, if the jury convicts
It's ridiculous.
We'll probably have to take a sabbatical because I will not be okay. I will not understand how I will have lost faith in the justice system if that happens.
Okay,
it's insane.
Folks in the chat are asking, what is this even about?
Okay.
And then also, Amy says, I feel like I need to pull up a cast list. I'm sending you
We're
a Reddit
sending
link
the cast list.
right now. I just put a Reddit link in the chat. Click on that. Somebody on Reddit was kind enough to make a little chart that we're going to use, and you can follow along with us.
Yes, because there are so many players involved in this that it is very confusing.
Yes.
But it's also even more insane that it's happening because so many people are having to stick to the same story and lie and not crack. And you're like, somebody's going to fucking crack. Somebody's got to. There's like 12 people. No, that's just the people that were there during the murder.
Yeah.
Then there's a ton of cops that are in on it too.
Okay, well, let's start at the beginning.
Okay, I'm pulling up my chart.
Let's begin with the defendant and the victim and how they knew each other.
Sure. So the defendant is Karen Reed. She's in her 40s. She's a professor and
executive of Fidelity.
Yes,
as well.
She's very smart, very well respected in her career and everything. She was dating Boston police officer John O'Keefe. The two dated previously when they were much younger, like in their early 20s, I believe, maybe even before that. Then they split apart, and like a decade later or something, they hooked back up. Mm-hmm. And at this point, he has since adopted his niece and nephew because their mom, his sister, passed away. And then like a few months later, their dad passed away. So these poor children have lost now both of their parents, as well as their uncle, who was their caretaker. And he was very dedicated to them. And they were like his world and stuff.
And they're both minors. Correct?
Yes,
like
they're both minors. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So Karen and him dated for years. She had a home, but basically lived there and also helped raise the kids, which it comes out in court. Maybe she wasn't crazy about doing that. She says she never wanted to have kids, and she kind of felt like he took advantage of her being there to take on more of a role than she had ever intended to. Mm-hmm. But she still like was kind and caring and loved them and everything. So that, and John O'Keefe is a Boston police officer. I'm not sure how long he had been on the force, but
he's an older guy too. He's up in his 50s, late 40s, early 50s.
No,
is he younger?
They're both probably in there. I think he seems younger than her, but let me see.
I always think everybody's older than me because I forget that I'm 37. And I'm like, people in their 40s, they're at least 20 years older than me. But that's not true. They're only about 3 years older.
Okay, so she's 44 and he was 46 when he passed away. He was a 16-year police veteran. Okay. So I'm getting the date of the incident. Pardon me.
You're good.
Okay. January 29th, 2022 was when he was, I guess that is also when he was killed. So yeah, and found early morning hours. So earlier in the night, which would have been like really the 28th, Karen met some friends at a bar in Boston, maybe Canton, that area, called Waterfall. Everyone was drinking. It's no secret. Everybody was drunk. Mm-hmm. Which, just sidebar, they're all shit-faced driving around and they're all fucking cops. So right off the bat, you see like clearly they don't really adhere to the rules that they enforce upon everyone else.
No, and I was going to say, as much as I'm like, free Karen Reed of murder, she definitely drove drunk that night, 100%, like 100%. Unforgivably so, you know?
Yeah, she was very drunk and admits to like being so.
Yeah.
So one of the people in attendance at the Waterfall was Jen McCabe, who is, here's where everybody has to start coming into play. She is the sister-in-law of Brian Albert, who is about to come into play because he is the homeowner / fellow Boston police officer. He's the homeowner where everyone is about to leave from the waterfall and go to an after party.
If I may, so Jen McCabe and John O'Keefe are friends.
They are the only ones that are really kind of connected, because even though, which is weird, like so many other people involved in this story are also on the police force, but they didn't really know John, which I don't know, maybe it's that big. I don't know. But his niece that he is the guardian of and Jen McCabe's daughter are good friends. So that's their connection. Mm-hmm. But he didn't really know the other people that were there.
Because it's then he and Karen are being invited by basically
Jen.
By Jen, saying, Jen's going, hey, come to my sister and brother-in-law's house for an after party.
Yes.
And the sister and brother-in-law is Sergeant Detective Brian Albert and his wife, Nicole.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So the story is that everyone leaves the waterfall. Karen is driving her black Lexus SUV with John in the passenger seat, and they arrive at 34 Fairview, which is the address of Brian Albert's home. She alleges she pulled into the driveway. She wasn't sure that they meant to invite her. Like, she felt kind of weird that, like, because I don't know these people. Like, are you sure, like, we were supposed to be invited back here? Because it's like a friend of a friend, word of mouth type of thing. And you're like, I don't know. This is weird. I don't know if I want to be here. And everyone's like drunk and whatever. So she alleges she told him to go inside the house, see if everything was cool, and to text her. Mm-hmm. And that she watched him run rather, because it's 18 degrees and basically a blizzard.
Yeah.
12:30 at night. And he isn't even wearing like a coat. He has on like a hoodie. Okay. Yeah. So she says she saw him open the door, look inside, and then she looked back down at her phone. And then when she looked up, he was gone.
Yeah, presumably inside the house.
Yes. And after a few minutes, she's texting him and calling him to try and see, like, is everything cool? He doesn't answer. She gets pissed off and drives home. And they live like 3 miles away. And
she assumes he just went in the party and started partying and didn't give her the courtesy text that she was expecting. And they were kind of...
A few months before, there had been an incident when they were on vacation in...
Was it Aruba?
I think it was Aruba, where she accused him of cheating on her with, I think it was like the daughter of a family friend. It was kind of a weird thing. Mm-hmm. But he said, and the girl said, like, no, you've got it all wrong. Nothing happened. But she thought that. So she, in voicemails that have since been released, when she's calling him at like 1 a.m., like, where the fuck are you? I'm here with your kids. She even says in one of them, insinuates that he's probably cheating on her.
Oh, okay.
So that's going on in her mind. There is a witness that places her in front of the house in her car by herself at the time, like midnight or whenever this is supposed to be happening. She says she saw him go inside. The guy that pulled up did not see him go inside.
Okay.
Which the defense argues it was 18 degrees. It was freezing. He made a beeline. Like, it's not like it would, you know, you could look away or just like not be pulling in yet. So it's not unreasonable. He didn't see him.
Okay.
Nobody inside the house that night at this party. Everyone there says he never came inside. Mm-hmm. And that instead, what happened was Karen and John, which they did get into an argument earlier that day at breakfast, but she said it wasn't like a big thing and it's being blown out of proportion. They're saying she was drunk. He got out of the car. She backed up into him and killed him.
She hit him so hard and so forcefully.
Yes.
The cause of death, my understanding now from medical testimony that's come out, is blunt force trauma to the back of the head and hypothermia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And also his other injuries were the scratches on his arm that now medical experts have testified are consistent with dog bites.
Correct. Scratches and bites. Yeah. Only on one side of his body.
Yes.
His eyes were like bulging out of his head. Yes. People, even EMTs that were there, like, quote, said it looked like he'd been beaten up.
The medical examiner also for the state, in fact, testified that the injuries weren't consistent with a motor vehicle, but with injuries you'd see from fists of a person and also dog bites on the arm.
Yeah. Yeah. So Karen goes home. What has been pieced together through digital evidence kind of unfolds the following what actually happened. And / my own belief, conjecture, / also what the defense is alleging happened. Karen and John pull up in the driveway. He gets out, does go inside, in fact, to see if everything's cool, and almost immediately gets attacked by Colin Albert, who is the 18-year-old nephew of the homeowner, Brian Albert.
If you are all following along, or if you're just joining us, the pinned comment from us is a link to a Reddit tree that someone's made that shows people's relationships. So you can follow along and find Chris Albert Jr., Colin Albert.
Colin Albert.
Colin Albert is Chris Albert's son.
Yes, and Chris Albert was not at the house the night this happened. I believe he owns a pizza place locally.
12
but
cops, a girl in a pizza place.
You gotta have it, I mean, the police force alone will run your business. So,
yes. Also, welcome everyone who's just joining us.
Yeah, but his wife was there.
Okay. Oh, so Julie Albert is his wife, Chris Albert's wife, and Colin Albert's mom.
Yes, and I believe Julie was there.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So, Colin and John had, even though one was 42 and one was 18, had beef with each other because Colin used to live near John, and Colin is notorious for being a meathead, a fighter. Every single social media post they've shared of him, he's flipping off the camera or doing something. There's all these TikToks of him threatening to beat the shit out of people.
Classy.
He's a real piece of work. And he would throw beer cans on John's yard when he lived near him and stuff, and cut through his yard all the time to go to his house, which was the big sticking point between them that they would fight about a lot. So they had a history of not getting along. I believe that when John entered the house, almost immediately there was an exchange of heated words between the two, and a fight broke out.
May I ask, what does John's cell phone indicate happened to him physically, stepping up and down?
The records do show that he went up and down a flight of stairs within the house, even though everyone there claims he did never come in.
Okay.
But his cell phone data does show that. Which I think was probably stairs down to a basement.
Okay.
So I think they got into it pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot to mention the homeowner, Brian Albert. What was his title again?
He's the sergeant detective.
Sergeant detective for the Boston Police Department. Was also on Boston's Finest. The that show that came out in the early aughts about Boston cops. Also a trained MMA fighter.
And had a puppy?
There's also has a very protective German Shepherd named Chloe.
Someone said, Court McNeil 77 said the Zillow listing has a floor plan that shows the stairs by the door, I believe.
Okay.
So folks have been able to find the Zillow
There you go. So he probably walked right in the door and walked right downstairs.
Yeah.
He also heads up the fugitive task unit. So this guy is not afraid to fight, and in fact has fought many, many times, and is like, when you think quintessential beefcake Boston police officer who would beat the fuck out of you.
He looks like
you think of this guy.
If you put your throat between there and go and just crush your windpipe instantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I think happened is John and Colin mouthed off because
why wouldn't
he was wont to do that.
Yeah.
Also plastered all the time pictures of him on social with alcohol all the time. Again, his uncle is sergeant detective of the cops, so like they're all very privileged, they're all rich. It's very Murdoch in the sense that like these kids are untouchable.
You know who I am? You know who my daddy is?
Yeah. Or my uncle rather. But also, you know who my daddy is? He makes the best pizza in all of Boston.
And also Colin Albert's dad looks like he's on the select board, which I think is a higher up in the police department. So everybody that has a blue stripe if you're following along on the chart, has some sort of like ATF, the police department, state police. There's a lot of connections to different people, as we'll see going forth, including Chris Albert too, who has some sort of an administrative law
They're all
so
connected. And they've all known each other for decades.
Oh yeah.
All of their families have been very intertwined.
Babysitting kids, going to weddings kind of stuff.
Yes, being in each other's weddings, all that stuff.
Okay.
So I think Uncle jumped in, which then caused Chloe the German Shepherd to jump in because she and he had even said before, unrelated to this case, that his dog doesn't do well with strangers a lot, or like, is very protective if shit starts going down. Can be aggressive. And just interestingly enough, 9 days after this happened, the German Shepherd, who had been their family dog for 6 years, was rehomed, and they just straight up refused to disclose the whereabouts of the dog, which I will get to in a minute.
He went to a farm upstate
where I think the dog is.
He went to a farm. He's happy. He's
but like, so it's so incredulous that like all of these huge moves that are clearly cover-up moves start happening immediately
post-haste
after they kill this guy.
So in the moment, we have John has just arrived. He gets into an altercation with nephew of the homeowner, Colin.
This is my theory. This is in fact.
So far, this is the most supported by the evidence I've heard, at least. And then the dog jumps in. They've now beaten John such that it's pretty severe and significant.
Yeah.
And then
he has a dog. He's also
attacked
multiple bites and scratches all up and down his right arm.
And the back of his head's pretty severely injured, and his eyeball had been popped out, kind of a situation.
Yeah. So what I think happened is they then, at some point, I don't think right away, I think they all had to get their stories straight. But within like an hour of everyone arriving for this after party, everyone leaves. Which, like, why would you leave within an hour of coming to a party? Except for the fact that a guy was killed within like the first 5 minutes. So it kind of soured everything.
Yeah, put a damper on it. And, you had to spend a lot of time as accessory after the fact.
Everyone had to get their story straight as to what happened.
Yes.
So then at 2:27 a.m., it shows, and you cannot dispute digital evidence, that Jen McCabe, who again is the sister-in-law of Brian Albert,
the homeowner / MMA fighter
/ the aunt of Colin.
Yes.
So Colin is the baby boy of the family.
Yeah.
And never go against the family, I suppose.
Yeah.
So she takes like two people home. Her car data shows that like she drove past Karen Reed's house during this time. Then later, cell phone data shows she Googles Hoslong to die in cold, which is the misspelling is important.
So HOS.
HOS at 2:27 a.m.
Long to die in cold. Presumably she was trying to type in how long to die in cold. But, you're nervous on account of a horrible thing that's happened.
On account of your accessory to murder.
Yeah, it happened in your sister's basement.
Covering it up right now.
Yeah, so she types in house long at what time now?
2:27 a.m.
And he had gone into the house at approximately, 12:30-ish?
I believe 1234.
Okay.
I think from like 1231 to 1234 was the stairs.
Okay.
Also, I don't have the exact time, but I want to say it's around shortly after, like around 1 a.m. Cell phone data, which she tried to delete, as well as the Hosslong to die in cold. Those were deleted by her.
Yeah.
And only because Karen Reed's attorneys, she's spending the big bucks, did they do like these super extra tests on the phone to get stuff.
Nothing you do is private. Nothing.
No.
Nothing you do is private.
And what's
Own
crazy?
your shit, because nothing you do is private. There's no such thing as secret.
The first test that they did, but also they didn't really care because the Commonwealth is clearly very biased. But the first test they didn't return any of this because there's different, which I did not know this. There's like different levels of like how much people will go into your phone. So again, think of all the people that don't have the money to have an expert that can like dig everything out of there. And the defense's expert is who found this.
Yes, I was going to say, it's my understanding that from the Boston Globe podcast I listened to, when the state was collecting the digital evidence in the case, tell me if this sounds biased, they took the defendant, Karen Reed's phone, and they did a big scrape of everything possible that got sent. And for all the people that were in the house, they said, could you just send us relevant screenshots that you think we need? And that's what they took.
Select screenshots.
Correct.
Yes.
They said, send us your screenshots. And they didn't say, we're going to need to collect all of your cell phones
no.
and take them.
We'll get to the cell phones in a second.
Okay.
Because everybody just fucking got a new one.
Yes. Whoopsie.
Yes. So, meanwhile, Karen is at home and they're making calls to John like every 20 minutes. There are voicemails that are played in court. She's very pissed off. Mm-hmm. Calls him a lot of names that I bet it's real hard to hear that being played back to you. Mm-hmm. And when you're on trial now for his murder.
I would say though, arguably doesn't it go to, it sounds like she's genuinely irritated with him.
Yes. And also, like, clearly,
she's not acting.
You can tell from the state of her voice, she doesn't know what happened. She didn't just leave a guy to die in the fucking cold.
No.
She's pissed off he's not home and that she's having to be there with the kids.
And she thinks he's cheating. Yeah, she calls him a pervert too many times. Yeah.
So, and with that hard R.
Pervert.
So, she's calling him and everything. Around like 5:30, I believe, Jen wakes up and realizes he's not there. Karen freaks out. She doesn't really know any of these people. So she wakes up his niece, who is friends with Jen McCabe's daughter, to be like, I need the number of her.
Yes.
That's kind of like the only connection. So, and Jen McCabe's cell phone data shows that she was pacing around the Alberts house all night until this, or at her house, until she received this phone call.
She didn't
almost like one was waiting for somebody to call you because you knew you were about to have to start this whole ruse.
She didn't drop all of her friends off and go home and have a nice night.
No, after a night of drinking, somehow that did not happen.
Yeah.
So, but that is what happens. Jen calls her friend Carrie, who was not there that night, and Jen, and it's like, something's wrong. I know it.
So Karen calls Jen and her friend Carrie.
Yes.
Okay.
While Karen, and there's ring footage that shows this, is backing out of her garage to go search for John, she bumps into his truck, which is parked in their driveway, thereby cracking her taillight. This will become very relevant in a moment.
Put it in the bank.
The three women, she was obviously very drunk because she did not even remember going to the house. Mm-hmm. The last thing she remembered was them leaving the waterfall.
Okay. Wow.
So
Don't drive when you're like that.
Jen says, well, no, y'all were supposed to come over to the house. And like, I saw you there. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, okay. So they drive back over to their house. Almost immediately, Karen sees his body. He's 6'2", 217 pounds, lying in the snow, and it's like a fucking blizzard. 12 feet away from the curb in the yard of the Alberts' front yard. Mm-hmm. She's hysterical. She's freaking out. She's like, let me out of the car. The other two claim to have not seen anything despite being in the front seat while you're on a mission to find somebody. So, you're searching. It's also, everything's covered in fucking snow and illuminated.
Yeah, I was just saying, but he's 12 feet from the curb.
Yeah.
He wasn't like 50 feet from the curb.
No, anybody that would have driven by would have seen him.
Okay.
Very clear as day. So, but Karen, and this is why I don't really know why Carrie is saying maybe she didn't really. I don't think she has anything to gain by lying, but maybe they got to her. I don't know. Gets out of the car, runs up to him. He is still bleeding from his nose and mouth. They said it looked like he had been in a terrible fight, and there was blood coming from his head, and bites and stuff all over his arm. He was not responsive. So she immediately pulls up her shirt, pulls up his shirt, tries to warm him. She's hysterical, freaking out. And during this, she says, did I hit him? Could I have hit him?
Yeah.
She does not say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, which is what Jen McCabe is telling everybody that'll listen that she said.
Yeah.
So, Carrie is brushing snow off of, really doing anything except calling her fucking sister. There's a call made to the sister's phone at 6:07 a.m.
The
homeowner. And Brian's at 6:08. They each last for 6 seconds and indicate that they were picked up, probably long enough for you to say, we're out front, don't come out. Because you know what they didn't do? You know what the sergeant detective of the Boston Police Department didn't do when there was a dead body on his lawn? Come outside during any of it.
Was he sleeping?
Even if he was, wake him up.
Yeah.
I mean, also, you in that job, you wake up to those things. There was the whole fucking task force and ambulance and fire and everybody's out front.
In a hypothetical situation, if I had invited a friend to a party at my sister and brother-in-law's house, and I have a sister and brother-in-law, and then I came back with that friend's girlfriend at 4 a.m. and there was a dead body in front of Shannon and Aaron's house, I'd be like, you have to come outside. Something horrible's happened. Yeah. I'm so sorry to tell you've got to wake up and come outside. I wouldn't be like, shit is going down. Stay inside until we know what the deal is.
Unless maybe they had killed him.
Yes. In that case, I'd say stay inside.
Yeah.
No, I'd say come outside.
So, he's taken to the hospital. He's pronounced dead. The Canton PD does a search of the area. Nothing is found. Okay, no taillight pieces are found. The shoe of the victim, who when he was found in the yard, he only had one shoe on.
She hit him so hard his shoe flew off and away into the sky so far.
And also she hit him so hard that there was no evidence of car pieces at the time anywhere. Also, she drove past the library on her way home, which would, from the CCTV footage, would have confirmed whether or not her taillight at that point was cracked. Conveniently, that 2 minutes from the library, that 2 minutes of footage is missing.
Man, it's weird that computers glitch that way.
Mm-hmm. At the exact moment you need them to.
I can't believe it.
Also, the chief of police lives across the fucking street from all of this.
The Canton PD?
Yeah. No, from the Alberts house.
That's what I'm saying. The chief of the Canton Police Department?
Yes, he lives across the street, has Ring cameras. Wouldn't you know it? They weren't on that night.
Yeah, I bet nobody's cameras on the whole street.
Isn't that crazy? No one on this, no neighbor has come forward. And anybody that has been asked, they just weren't working that night.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy that all of them were just not working at the same time?
What a fun glitch.
So, despite a dead body being found on the lawn of a home,
yes,
regardless of who the homeowner is, don't you think
Yes, yes.
the lead detective in the case would go knock on a door and ask some questions and maybe ask to come in and ask like, hey, you know anything about this or what was going on?
A loud thunk and some squealing tires.
Yeah.
At 12:30 is not too awfully late.
Yeah, or like
people are in like a deep dead sleep.
Since he's a fellow police officer, you know, like it's what? So that never happened.
Yes, yes.
The house was never searched.
The homeowner of the man whose body was found in the front yard, they didn't search the inside of their house.
The sergeant detective.
Yeah, they didn't search the inside?
They didn't. No, they did not. The outside was searched with leaf blowers.
I did see they were using leaf blowers, and then I saw...
to blow snow around, which, call me crazy, but that seems dicey to be looking for evidence of that.
Yeah, with a leaf blower.
Blow it clear across the
use
yard.
a flamethrower. It'll melt the snow.
True.
Emily Baker was saying, and I was watching one of her trial footage recap things, and it was an officer was testifying in the early days of the trial, and they showed him a brown paper sack, and he said, that's an evidence bag. And they said, no, it isn't. Try again. And he's like, well, our evidence bags look like that. And they said, what does it say on the front of it? And he said, shop and save or whatever.
Stop and shop.
So they were using grocery sacks to collect evidence in Solo cups. I saw photos as well.
Blood in Solo cups.
Scooped up the blood from the crime scene in Solo cups.
Yeah. Okay. Why? I don't know what the funding is like for the Boston PD, but it seems like, they don't even have enough to get evidence bags or also none of this was like taped off.
No, everybody's
people were walking through it. Neighbors were walking through it. People were walking their dogs and shit through it, but no taillight pieces are found at that time. Mm-hmm. A few, when Karen backs into the car, when she's going to look for John, she does in fact crack her taillight, which then is discovered by all of these people colluding. And they're like, oh, here's our patsy. We're going to say that she backed into him.
She got Oswald.
And that's why her taillight's cracked. Mm-hmm. Backed into a 226 man. And all it did was crack your taillight. But somehow managed to fling him 26 feet. And really also no injuries, neck down. Torso, legs, anywhere where you would have been hit, 0 injuries.
Bitten in the arm, punched in the face.
All of that was, oh man, that was an embarrassing testimony. Oh, that cross was hard to watch.
Emma says that they have more than enough cash for evidence collecting. Canton is hoity-toity. Their police department is very well funded. So it's one of those where it's like, you have no excuse not to be like, we didn't know what we were doing. It's like, you're a rich suburb. Mm-hmm. You are well funded and trained.
Yeah. And also, this is what's kind of been lost, in my opinion, is that this is one of their own.
True.
Who they so very quickly turn against. He's not as much of their own as everybody else that was there, which is family and lifelong friends.
Yeah, exactly. Blood relatives.
Yes.
For sure.
So how is everyone doing up until now?
Yeah, how are we doing on facts? Do we have any questions?
Some of it I'm not getting to yet because I'm trying to go chronologically. So a lot of information has come out in the trial that
it'll be later
if I remember it all. But within like a couple of days, Jen is arrested for Karen is arrested and charged with 2nd-degree murder. Or maybe at first it was involuntary manslaughter, and then it got up to 2nd-degree murder.
I'm not familiar. I need to look up the charges.
I think that's what happened.
You keep talking. I'll look up what her charges.
They never had any other suspect. They didn't question any other narrative. It was immediately, this is what happened. She backed into him, left him in the cold to die, and he died of hypothermia. And that's like why she was the only one that saw the body when they came back that morning, is because she knew where she'd left him. And somebody in the comments did say, how did nobody leaving the house that night see the body? If in fact she did hit him at like 12:30, great question. It would be impossible.
They would all have to drive.
And they all, like the way the house is set up and everything and the visibility, which they all testify, like, yes, there's no obstructed visibility from the front door to where his body was, yet somehow nobody fucking saw this except one girl who all she will say is, I saw a black blob on the ground that was probably like 6 feet long.
Okay.
Which you can't call it a body because then you've incriminated yourself.
Yeah.
But it's also, they had to have somebody say they saw something.
Yeah.
They can't all say there's a dead body on the lawn that none of them fucking saw.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody had to be the person to do that. I think that was Julie Nagel.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, whose brother is the one that is the defense's expert witness or star witness, because he is the only one that can place Karen there by herself in the car with her hands at 10 and 2 at the time that this was happening.
And Julie Nagel is apparently Brian Albert Jr.'s friend.
So Brian Albert's son,
yes,
his friend is Julie Nagel. Yeah, they're all like probably late teens, early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yes,
all those kids.
Yes, so he's the Albert's second oldest child.
Which again, these are all cops, and they're all partying. And all these underage kids, I don't know if she was underage. Colin certainly was, or like hammered fucking drunk. So again, like, you know, it just shows you kind of like their attitude about laws in general.
No, for sure. And also the question we had here that said, she was only arrested based on testimony. She said, did I hit him?
Yeah.
Is that even probable cause? There was some other evidence that the police had.
Okay, so here's what happened. So, when she's charged, or maybe even, I guess it would have been before that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what they got to be able to tow her car. I don't know what you have to do that, but
you'd get a search warrant.
Okay, so they get a search warrant for her car.
Which I think you'd have probable cause for a search warrant if you said, we had a body at the scene with injuries and a cracked tail light. I need to see what else is there.
Yes, I agree. So, Trooper Proctor, who is now involved.
And he's with the state police, correct?
Yes. And he's also a longtime family friend of the Alberts and the McCabe's, which he tried to hide. He tried to say he did not know them. He didn't disclose how close they all were. But because everybody posts everything on social media, it wasn't hard for the defense to pull a ton of pictures showing y'all have all been in each other's weddings and you're texting such and such to babysit your kids. Like, it's a very intimate, close relationship.
And so that's including, Trooper Michael Proctor with the Massachusetts State Police, his sister Courtney Proctor is very close friends or allegedly friends with Julie Albert, who is the mom of Colin Albert, the douchebag meathead that you were saying, allegedly.
They're all intertwined.
Yes.
And that's why it's so hard to keep track of, but also it runs so deep that it's like, the fact that this woman is like, fuck it, I'm going up against all of them.
I'm doing it. Someone's got to be Norma Ray.
Right, for real. And like, she will go down in the history books.
So Trooper Michael Proctor, when you get assigned a case and they go like, hey, this crime happened at your sister's best friend's brother's house, you got to go like, oh, I can't be a part of that. But instead, he was like, let me at him.
He said, oh, I don't really know him that well. Like, it's such a far removal of that. There's no conflict of interest. It's fine. And they fucking just said, okay.
Yeah. They
like nobody, because they're all in on it. The whole department.
Never underestimate the well-placed of a powerful white man. Because oftentimes people will go, oh, okay, we believe you.
Yeah. Especially when you're, they're all intimidating.
Yeah.
Especially Brian Albert. He has a look about him like, I would not, if I ran into him in an alley, I'd be scared.
He's like, don't park your car.
Yeah, I'd be like, you got it, pal.
I'm all right.
Well, not. So there's no taillights found on the glistening white snow when police arrive, when the initial investigation begins, when the body's discovered. No taillights are found.
No glass, nothing, no debris from the car.
Interestingly enough, there is glass found, but it is from a drinking glass.
And
it's shattered.
And he had been seen leaving Waterfall with a drinking glass from the bar.
Allegedly.
Okay.
Yes. So, but then the state brings in her car. They have it towed. On official paperwork, Trooper Proctor writes that her car was towed at like 3:12 p.m. Or 4:30 or something like that. And then it arrived at this certain time. Well, wouldn't you know that the ring footage from her parents' house where her car was shows that it was actually towed an hour and 15 minutes earlier than he claimed, thereby giving him an hour and 15 minutes alone with the car.
Okay.
That when you just looked at paperwork, you would not know that that was what happened.
Yes. So we have some improprieties already in not or accusing yourself from a connection to the investigation. And now fudging the time to get time alone with the key piece of evidence, which would be, in fact, a second-degree murder weapon.
Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, I think his name is Ken Berkowitz. Chief Ken Berkowitz, I believe, is also there when the car is being looked at.
Okay.
And recovered footage shows Trooper Proctor near the back right taillight. And when it just so happened that like 6 hours, maybe even longer after the body was found, and it was snowing like crazy, they never found any pieces of taillight. But then after they get her car, one of the officers just happens to go back and do a search. May have even been Trooper Proctor, and they discover 37 pieces of red taillight all around the driveway.
The Lord melted the snow. The Lord, and then it made it snow again, and then
it had snowed like during this time, so like the snow doesn't match up.
The magic taillight glass, it's more magic than Jesus because it survived being blown by a leaf blower.
It did. Yes,
my goodness,
yes. Bright red,
powerful,
bright red on glistening white snow. Couldn't stand out more. So that's when she is charged and brought in, and they're saying she backed up into him, and this is the evidence they have. Oh, also, when they find that, they just happen to also find the victim's shoe.
Okay.
Which they didn't find earlier.
They found it in the yard?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I bet they didn't.
Yeah, no, I don't think they did.
Do we have a moment from a question?
Yes.
Summer
please.
Married to Murder podcast says, the prosecutors, capital P, I assume you mean the podcast, said they didn't have probable cause to search the house. What's your opinion on that, Heather? Not knowing 100% of the facts, but going off of my opinion, I would say they did have probable cause. If you go to a home, you're called out to a home, there's a hysterical woman in the front yard and a dead body, and the hysterical woman in the front yard is going, I don't know what happened. I thought he went in the house last night. All of a sudden, he's dead here.
I don't think she said any of that at the time.
She just was screaming, and they had to take her to a mental health because she was making comments.
Said, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Jen said that, and she's testified under oath 1,000 times, that she said, I hit him, and that she showed Jen and Carrie the taillight and as evidence. The fucking ring footage from the door, no, she didn't. Mm-mm. They're all running because it's snowing like crazy. Nobody even stops at the back to look at anything.
You make it all up.
And then they confront them with this on the stand, these liars, and they're just like, I don't agree with the narrative. It's like, bitch, this is all.
I can see
how can
moving.
You lie with it? How can you like lie? This is nobody. This is like proof positive that what you're saying didn't happen.
No, I would agree with that. And I would say, even if Karen said nothing and you just show up to that scene.
Yes, the probable cause is they had all been out at a party together or at the restaurant, and then they were going back to a party, an after party. That they all agreed to that. No one's lying about that.
It was anybody except cops. They would have searched the home. If it was people that didn't have a lot of money or non-white people, they would have drop-kicked the house in with guns in their hands.
For fucking sure.
If there was a dead cop in their front yard.
I hope that if there's a body found on my front yard, that the cops knock on my door.
If there was a dead cop in your yard, they would kick the door down and they would probably get torches and burn the house down. But because it was a higher-up cop who owned the house, they went, well, we didn't have probable cause. And I think if you ignore the because anybody that's like, well, the law's the law, you're being ignorant. And so many times in history, the law being the law has been an unjust law or a law applied unjustly here. So I think you have to look at outside external factors and go, sometimes people in positions of power, especially those who have been entrusted with a lot of power, say, well, the law is the law, but I don't want to go to jail, so I'm going to lie and I'm going to twist things and I'm going to call my buddy. So no, I would disagree that they didn't have probable cause.
I think they had beyond probable cause.
And I think, like I said, if you were going to apply the law how it gets applied to anybody else except a detective sergeant of the Boston police, they would have got their door kicked in the second they showed up on the scene and there was a busted up dead police officer in the front yard, especially if they knew there was a dog in the house.
That's the thing too.
And they had dog
also, wouldn't you, as the sergeant detective, if a fellow Boston police officer was found dead in your front yard, wouldn't you want to cooperate?
Not if you killed
and give
it,
an interview and go outside
Yeah.
to see how can I assist, which is the point the defense brought up, is he's a trained, certified first responder. It's his job, and like he's violating his job to not go and help because they take an oath to serve and protect and to always try and save someone's life. And
even if you're not on the clock.
Yes. So, you know, that's why you can't come outside.
Yeah.
Because then you're put in the position of trying to save the life of the guy that you hope dies.
Oh, you're right. Yes. The Rastrick said that
screaming about murder in my backyard.
No worries. Chief Berkowitz of the Canton Police just happened to be driving by, found the pieces of the taillight, and said
even more
evidence
insane
revealed itself to the Canton Police Department, which was already recused.
He wasn't even on this case, and he wasn't even on duty when that happened. He just happened to find it. Also, Trooper Proctor went back 6 undocumented times to the crime scene and just happened to find evidence at these times. More pieces.
He happened to find it when they put it on the porch, the front porch, and probably grocery
bags.
Here's his shoe.
What did they find on her? Something was planted on her bumper too, which wasn't there at the time.
Lord.
There's a picture of Trooper Proctor at the hospital after he's collected evidence, and his feet are in the picture, and on the floor, the dirty hospital floor next to his feet, are the victim's crumpled up clothes, not in any kind of evidence bag, which he then entered into evidence. And you know what just happened to be on the clothes? Little bitty dust particles
from Karen's car.
The taillight.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. I would also say it's inadmissible because you busted the chain of custody. It's on the fucking floor of the hospital. What are you talking about?
The judge is just, people are like, was the judge at this party? Because she's so biased and corrupt that it's wild. Everybody calls her Auntie Bev.
I was going to say, I think Auntie Bev is going to has realized and maybe took the weekend to read some comments about herself. Because the last Juneteenth, I say the weekend, the holiday, because she was decidedly a little bit fairer, and even Emily Baker mentioned a couple of rulings.
Yeah, there were a couple times where she was like, "I'll allow it," or ask it in a different way. There's so much back and forth. I've never seen a trial with so much back and forth from the judge and the defense or the prosecutors.
Yeah. So, and someone said there's also a Good Samaritan law for regular citizens in Massachusetts. So you've got to stop and remember.
There you go.
But no, I would agree that but on the flip side, if you're a homeowner who's looking at a wrongful death lawsuit, not to mention going to jail, losing your job, you'd probably want to not get.
I think so. My husband is not answering me. I've got to get a drink. We'll take it back.
I'll chat with the chat. Oh, would you give me a little bit of water while you're in there?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'll interact with the chat. How's everybody doing in the chat today? Who have we got going? Say what's up to folks. Katie, will this be available tomorrow? Yeah, it should just stay up on YouTube, provided we don't do anything stupid and mess it up. So let's hope it will be. Scroll back up. There is a Good Samaritan law. Hey, what's up, Collier? The Trooper Proctor testified he decided Karen Reed was the only suspect within 17 hours. Is that normal for law enforcement to rush judgment? Oh, no, not at all. I think that guy's going to lose his job. Depends on the extent to which he is. Hey, what's up, y'all? The extent to which he was involved in it. I think a lot of the folks are going to go down for accessory after the fact. I need to look up Massachusetts law. Oftentimes, if you're present at the time, the commission of the offense, and then you assist in the cover-up, you're actually charged as if you were the principal of the offense, meaning the actual one that struck the blow or whatever. If you were, say, upstairs in another room, depends how present are you. Oftentimes you'd be like, well, I didn't know. But then you come downstairs and you obviously see what happened. you might still be charged as a principal. Usually accessory after the fact that is charged as a secondary would be more like Ruben Flores and Paul Flores, if you're familiar with the Kristen Smart case that we covered. So I think Trooper Proctor rushed it. And am I wearing gauchos? I'm wearing a Halara. It's shorts and a skirt. Would recommend, except my mom had to make the shorts longer. I'm a long, short kind of girly. But anyways, I think Trooper Proctor absolutely, it seems like he really rushed the case because of some sort of narrative that I don't think he came to on his own. I think a little birdie may have whispered it to him. And the thing that all these folks don't understand, and we covered this on a mini-sode. If you're on our Patreon, we did one that we called Siri and Alexa in the courtroom. And I was feeling curious about it. And so we wanted to cover it as a mini-sode about the extent to which digital evidence can be deleted, and it can't be. So everybody that's listening, and if you're watching this on replay or whatever, you can't delete anything from your phone. You can't, if you send a text, you don't send a text. Like I text Christy. I don't send Christy a text. I might send her a Facebook message, which means I send Facebook a message. Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, as my grandma-in-law would call him. And then Zuckerberg sends it to Christy. So there's 3 people in our conversation. Same with an iMessage on Apple. I send it to Apple. Apple sends it to my best friend in Chicago, Susie. So like there's 3 people in our conversation. If I text Paris, he's on an Android. I actually text AT&T. AT&T refers it to Google. Google refers it to Paris. So there's 4 people in that. So you think you like delete some off your phone. It never gets deleted. We haven't even gotten to the federal investigation. You all, the FBI is fucking shit up. Can I say that? I don't think I can swear on YouTube, but the FBI is throwing wrenches here in the game. But I think that's the number one like thing about this case is going to reveal the extent to which you have zero digital privacy. You just don't have it. It's what they can prove that you've done with it. I think one of the guys maybe didn't have his stuff backed up to the iCloud, so some of it maybe could get deleted, but not from the people whose phone he sent it to. So, yeah, dude, it's wild. To learn all that. Same with like you asking Siri a question or asking Alexa a question. So her going, how's Hoss Long to die in snow? Like you can't delete it for Hoss Long to die in cold. Like, lady, you can't delete it from your phone. You asked Google. Google will rat you every time. What's up, YouTube? Thanks for letting us stream on here, but they'll rat you every time. And Apple will rat you a little bit less. It takes a little bit more of an investigation, but they all of them, they'll all turn on you. So we were talking about, did Collier asked a good question. Did Trooper Proctor rush the investigation? I said, yeah. And I'll be interested to see based on his digital communication of what else the FBI unearths. He will probably lose his job.
Oh, yeah, because he's under investigation by the FBI, which that came out during this trial. Defense didn't even know what a gift that was handed to them.
I can't imagine. I would have creamed my jeans, as you say. If I'm defending a woman and I'm like, I don't know, I feel like these cops are all in a massive conspiracy. And then you get a call and you're like, hello. They're like, hello, this is Agent whatever with the FBI. We're actually conducting a corruption investigation in the police force regarding what they did to your client. You're like,
this is Alan Jackson's dick.
You're like, yeah, we're literally Wayne's World.
So what somebody said.
No, I'm just saying that because I said swing. But anyways, thank you all for being here.
Yes.
And sorry, we're on the back porch here in Texas. Welcome.
It's a bit sweaty. Yes.
Welcome to porch time.
So where did we leave off?
All right. Well, we last left off that the Canton Police Department drove by the crime scene. Trooper Proctor went by the crime scene a few extra times.
This is a good time to bring up yet another illegal thing Trooper Proctor did.
Mm-hmm. Just move a little bit off screen.
I don't know what happens.
We're just fueling the night. It sounds like a Bob Seger song.
Fueling the night.
Fueling the night. Me and you in a Chevrolet 2 and we're fueling the night. She's laughing.
Stop.
She said stop. I won't stop my Bob Seger parody song. Yeah, y'all follow Collier if you hadn't already. Thanks for being here, man.
Who?
Collier Landry's here.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, what's up?
Okay, so.
All right, so some illegal shenanigans are afoot.
Yes. So, in addition to forging the timestamps of when Karen's car was towed, so because it snows like a son of a bitch there, and I'm sure if you live there, you're like, obviously this is a thing. Here, this is, I didn't realize plows, obviously when you think about it, plows have to go down and clear the road and shit, but there are plows scheduled all the time and they do it like every hour or something.
Yep.
So you would think that the police department would see, hey, who was plowing the street that night at this time? And did they see a body in the front yard?
Yeah, you want to give them a ring? Maybe there's a camera on the plow.
They chose not to interview anyone.
Oh, you know.
And in fact, Trooper Proctor made up a fake document with a fake plowing company.
Well,
because he didn't want the real company to be investigated, but Turtle Boy actually found out who it was and went and talked to the plow driver, and he was like, I drove by at such and such time, nothing was on the line. He was like, and our training is we have to be looking everywhere because
you can't crush someone.
Yeah, so he's backing out of their driveway and you fucking plow him to death. He said, he was like, you don't want to hit a pedestrian or anything, or God forbid, an animal. And I'm like, this man is so much more concerned about hitting an animal.
He's like, you hit some fucking guy, or like a raccoon, or like a baby
God
bird.
Forbid, we don't want to hit a rabbit that's trying to hop across
God,
the street.
I saw baby raccoons the other day. I was like, you can't take those home. Like, but I wanted
Where
to.
Where were they?
They were living like.
No, you can.
Can I?
I mean, you can take anything home.
I can't have an evil
yourself.
chihuahua at my house.
That's
but nevertheless, so Plow Guy's going. I just want to briefly say it's my understanding, at least under Texas law, that if you forge a document as part of an official police investigation, that's a felony crime. So I imagine it's probably the same.
Well, he's forged multiple.
Uh-oh.
So it seems like there should be multiple charges.
As my old man used to say, that ain't no good. That ain't no good. You really, my advice, if you're a law enforcement officer and you're investigating a crime, is to just go back. If you need to know how to do it, go back and read Sherlock Holmes. He gathers the evidence, and then from the evidence, he makes a conclusion. He doesn't
That's what you should do.
It was her, and I'll prove it by making things up.
No, you can't do that.
That's just a little legal advice for
That's what they call being a liar.
Yeah.
So,
and a felon. Don't do crime.
But what also the plow driver said is that while he did not see a body I got to find out the times.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Because I don't like just saying around this time. Whenever he drove by the first time, he said there was nothing in front of the Alberts home at 34 Fairview. And it's snowing. It's illuminated. Like, clearly you would see stuff. He went down the street, turned around to come back down the street to plow that way. And this time, he said, in front of the Alberts house in the driveway, right where the body was found, was a black Ford Edge truck.
Okay.
Which Colin Albert just happens to drive.
Okay.
And he said he is unmistakable about this. It was very obvious.
Between 1:30 and...
It was probably, yeah.
Okay. McCabe's leave at 1:30 a.m. The McCabe's leave the Albert residence with Julie Nagel and another friend.
Okay, then the plow driver was
and drop her
daughters up.
Drop off the women home before returning to their home. According to, so between 1:30 and 2, Caitlin Albert leaves, and then Jen McCabe at 2:27. So the plow driver.
And 2:27 is when the Google search happens. So costs long to die in cold.
And the allegation seems to be that, everybody was kind of gone by 2.
Yes. So I believe this was maybe around like in the 3 a.m. area is when the plow driver went down and then came back and saw that the Ford Edge was there, which the defense, or maybe it was, I can't remember if it was Turtle Boy or the defense now, believes that it was kind of being used as a shield to block the fact that they were dumping his body on the ground.
Okay, here we go. This is the plow driver's testimony. He noticed a Ford Edge parked on the street in front of the house, which he said was weird because he said that family never had cars out front. He said the Edge arrived between 2:45 and 3 a.m., which the defense believes shows activity in the house when everyone said they were asleep. So phone activity. And also the Haas Long to Die in Cold was at
2:27.
Yes. So 2:27, Haas Long to Die in Cold, they decided to take him outside. Between 2:45 and 3, the Edge is parked, and we think that's when okay.
Yeah, and most likely he was killed in the basement and then perhaps put into a car that was in the attached garage and driven around front, so they didn't have to like carry him out or anything.
Yeah.
It just so happens that Brian Albert sold this house.
Yeah.
That was a family home and had been in the family for decades.
Surely not. Right after.
Just months after, for $50,000 below asking.
Motivated seller.
Wouldn't you know, they remodeled the entire basement before they sold it, which included ripping up all of the flooring.
You'd have to probably get it down to the concrete, I imagine, to soak
and
up.
Somebody suggested, why don't they contact the company that did the flooring, to which it was answered, it was a family friend that did it.
Oh, sure. I'm sure it was. It was a guy I know that does construction. And he does it, he takes cash and he doesn't ask questions.
Yeah. What I think happened with that flooring, as well as Chloe the dog.
Your opinion based on the facts presented?
Is that they were both put in the swimming pool of, I believe his name is Tim Albert. He is the brother of Brian Albert. And then it was filled in with cement. And this all happened like within a week of
he's like
the murder.
Hey, you know what? I wonder if, just hypothetically speaking, say a person wanted to put in a pool, but he was like, man, I really don't have enough money to put in a pool, but I'd love to. And then your brother comes to you and was like, I'll get you a pool in a week. I'll pay for it.
No, the pool was already there.
They just wanted to put more cement there.
The pool was there.
And they decided
they drained it and filled it with the bloody flooring and the dead dog.
Allegedly.
And then filled it in with cement.
I thought there wasn't a pool and they went to put a pool.
No, this was his existing pool. Yes. Apparently he's kind of like,
I didn't know this.
This is not my words, it's other people's. He's like the loser of the family. And that he kind of would probably like do anything that his older brother, would
like tell him to. Kimchi said, who fills in a pool? It costs $40,000.
Yeah, right?
And
there's pictures of it. There's like grass and shit on top of it now.
That you suddenly are like, I would like a yard.
Also, because they sold the house before a search warrant was issued, they can't search the house.
I mean, you could with the homeowner's permission.
Somebody said they can't. But also, even if they could, I mean, the whole basement has been redone.
You would have to tell the homeowners, and I don't know that you could get maybe the defense would pay them and say, hey, we need to tear up all the flooring in your house to see if there's blood that soaked all the way to the concrete. But here's the thing. If you killed someone in the basement and you're a cop, as stupid as they've been with the digital texting forensic evidence, and I'll just give that to that they're, they don't seem like they're all like tech savvy people. I think they would bust up the concrete and report it. You know what I mean? So like you tear these people's basement up and there probably isn't anything left. I think they probably, if a death occurred in their basement and they were trying to cover it up, you would annihilate everything. You'd want to literally just jackhammer the cement down to the foundation.
Well, they never have searched the house, period. So it's a moot point.
Yeah.
But I think that's why they won't reveal where the dog is because I think they killed the dog and then they put it in that pool along with all that flooring and fucking just Tony Soprano the whole thing.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a forensic expert. I wonder if you jackhammer down there, if you'd find the bones, or again, do they burn it and it's ashes and then you mix the ashes in the cement and then there's nothing in there again?
I don't think they have that much what is the word I'm looking for? I don't think they would go that deep because I don't think they thought they were even going to get caught. Like it's laughable that this case even got brought because like there's no fucking evidence and like it's like clear that everyone is just like colluding and just straight up making up the most, like your fucking kid is telling you how something went down.
No.
The stories are just like out of left field. People just like straight up won't answer. It's just none of them are likable.
No, this is a complete conjecture question, but I'm curious what you think. Do you think that as far as let's say, speaking in hypotheticals, the incident happened, they, are cleaning up the basement, figuring out what to do with him, and they decide, okay, hypothermia, it technically wouldn't be our fault,
Oh, well, they also had to put him outside to die in the cold, so he was still alive when he died.
Yes. Yeah. And so they kind of...
He was still alive when he was put in the cold.
Yes. But saying, like, well, let's just put him outside and say that y'all got in a fight and he decided to walk off and he must have passed out. And then she walks up and accidentally hands them a gift of her taillight because she hit his car.
I think that is what happened. And I think they pivoted the story.
Then, yes, she called him and said, the cops are on the way. Karen is asking if she hit him with her car. Like that, wink. And then you sort of form the story around it.
Yeah.
My question to the involvement of, say, the lead investigator's involvement all the way up to at the charging level at the prosecutor's office, if someone there is involved, do you think that they had charged her assuming she would plead out because she was blackout drunk and thought, well, maybe I did hit him? And then when she fought it, they've all been like, oh, shit. So maybe they didn't cover it up quite as well? Or do you think that they're like, she's hard-headed, she's going to fight us the whole way?
No, I don't think they expected this.
Okay. Damn.
I think that they underestimated how much money she had and also the support that she would receive from the public.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they are rich, powerful, connected cop families, and they all just assumed that if we're all in on this and all have this story, one, you now have blackmail on all of everybody. True. You're all blackmailing each other essentially. And you all just come up with this story and stick to it, and you're like, we're not going to back down. And then you would hope that that person didn't, but she's like, fuck y'all. Because also most people are not, or like, that's very intimidating to take on these types of cases.
No, truly. I mean, I'm like you said, it's shocking that she has uncovered what she has, but it's really like you're glad that she did move forward, because I think she's peeling back the layers on what the FBI will very soon say is a corrupt sect within.
Did they say what they're investigating?
It was my understanding.
They couldn't say exactly, right?
Let me see.
But also, like, wouldn't you wait to try this case until that case was over?
Yes, and like in every.
So how does it benefit them to try them at the same time?
It doesn't at all. Here's the thing. This is it's one of those things where I hear about it in the news and I'm like, I'm a trained professional. I should have heard that stuff like this happens. This is crazy sounded. And then I'll go and like look on message boards and everyone's like, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Nobody ever does this. And I'm like, okay, good. It's not just me. I'm always like, I need like a grown-up to agree with me. So I'm not off base. Emily Baker agrees, and she's phenomenal. Her coverage of this is unparalleled. And just like lawyers that on social media have been like, both sides, when they learned that there was this federal investigation into allegations of police corruption, because I imagine Karen Reed, in addition to paying $1 bajillion to her defense experts, her lawyer said, you have to call this in. This is federal corruption. The Department of Justice investigates this. And so having the credible evidence that she had, given the digital forensics she was able to give, and knowing that the FBI, because of a lot of laws.
So you think that
I think
they are the instigator for the federal case?
I think they reported it.
And that's why the feds are looking into it?
If that's wrong, correct me in the comments.
I had always just assumed that it was separate, and which I thought strengthened the case, that they were like separately independent of what this is. Maybe they were some kind of corruption.
Maybe they were, but in my case, whenever I defended clients civilly, I would also tell them like, hey, you should make a report to whatever, like if they got scammed or if somebody stole something from them. I'm like, we can sue them to get your money back, but you also should have a parallel investigation going on. So I would say in this case, if you truly think that it's as corrupt as possible, you're a defense attorney and you have to know, like, there's like, we can't.
But they seemed surprised. Alan Jackson was very surprised.
So maybe they didn't know about it.
I don't think he did.
I wonder how I'd like to know how the FBI got involved. But if I was her, I would have called them in myself. But
I'm pretty sure that because it was like a really bombastic reveal when the defense was like, Your Honor, we've recently been informed that the Federal Bureau, it was this very dramatic way of saying the FBI, but I love him, so I'll give it to him. And he is a fucking bulldog, but he also has a lot of patience with the judge, who is just like, Sustained is her favorite word. Everything this idiot ADA does, he objects to everything. And like, it's to the point where like the witness will just look at the judge or their attorney because they're just waiting for the objection so they don't have to answer what's being said. Nobody can remember a fucking thing. It's just,
everybody's like,
everybody can remember. Jen McCabe can remember that she 100% said, I hit him. But when presented with her original testimony in front of the grand jury, none of them said this. None of them said that she said that. This all came out after.
Like, it all came out. So it looks like in April of 2023, Karen, through a friend from college, was informed that the feds were investigating.
I'm sorry. Repeat that. I was reading something.
So Karen received a text April of 2023, so like a year and some change after the incident, from her college friend saying the feds are involved.
Oh, how did the college friend know?
It says that
they had a connection.
Yeah, they had like an insider, but there was some reporting on the case, and so like it's much like
of the Karen Reed.
Of the Karen Reed case.
Okay, yeah.
Because her defense all along was, I'm being framed and everybody's in on it. Mm-hmm. So then this article was coming out, and I never know who filed. Like, if you're a journalist investigating, do you call the FBI and be like, hey, I've uncovered all this stuff. Do you guys want copies of it?
I don't know. What are their?
I don't know, man.
Their ethical standards.
I have to report stuff, so I feel like because like I took an oath,
just like
just and
Brian Albert took an oath to serve and protect
and help people
and defend, and he did none of those things.
He let his buddy down alone.
I think he helped kill this guy,
allegedly. Well,
this guy, which is was said in a text from Jen McCabe's husband in a family group chat that said, tell the police that guy never came in.
That guy. And that's John O'Keefe. He's a person. He was a police
officer. But also
officer.
when presented with this fact, they all just flat out deny it. It's crazy. It's bonkers.
Yeah.
They're just like, I don't know. I don't remember. You're like, explain this. They're like, that I didn't do it. What are you talking about?
I was gonna say, like, as a jury member, like, you're pissing off jurors so bad because they're like, I have to sit here for 27 jury days because you're just sitting there shrugging your shoulders. Fucking fess up to it or get off the stand. And also, you really underestimate. Jurors are like first and foremost humans with like physical needs. They don't want to be there. Mm-mm. Hopefully they take their role seriously. But if they feel like you're wasting their time, they'll hate you and turn on you.
Well, two of them, I believe, are of Asian descent, and in one of the text threads that is released, Jen McCabe's husband refers to their neighbors as the Asians.
Yikes.
So, I'd feel a type of way about that if I was on the jury, especially if I was Asian. So,
yeah,
I don't think they're very likable, and I certainly hope that the jury sees that, because so many, you got to pull up the text. When Trooper Proctor had to read in front of a court of law the text that he sent his fucking superiors / buddies in a group chat while he was going through Karen Reed's phone and evidence.
Let's see.
Oh, also, everyone there just happened to get like rid of their phone or get a new phone within like the day after all of this happening. Yeah, one of them fucking took it and threw it away in a dumpster on a military base after removing the SIM card and, his words, not mine, ripping it in half. Who does that?
He sounds like he's trying to hide something and doesn't understand how SIM cards work.
He had been sending sexy, flirty texts with Karen that night, which didn't look good for her.
No,
but it's not motive.
He said, shame on you, sir. I'm going to find a list of them all. This is like peppered in texts.
Oh, yeah.
I hate when it's like an article.
I've never heard a trooper spell cunt and then be told by a judge, those are your words, Trooper Proctor. You got to say them. And then he just goes, cunt.
Whack job.
Oh, dude, the things that he says about her. And then when Alan Jackson is like, this is the woman you're investigating, correct?
Yeah.
In the death of a fellow police officer.
Yeah.
And this is how you speak about the woman you're, it's crazy. If
this is the lead investigator,
she has to sit there and listen to it.
The lead investigator has zero credibility. The medical examiner straight up said this wasn't a car accident. I don't know what it was. It could be a lot of stuff. Could be a fight. Could be a fall down the stairs. Could be a lot of things. I don't know. All you have to prove as a defense attorney is reasonable doubt, and there's so much reasonable doubt.
That's what I'm saying.
Crazy amounts.
But also,
I think they'll deliberate for 20 minutes.
I'm worried that if they do come back and say, obviously she's not guilty, can the judge overturn that?
No.
Can't you do that?
No.
I thought the judge could say, I don't agree. And then
in Massachusetts, not here. You gotta, if you go with the jury, you go with the jury.
Really? I thought there were some states where the judge had final say.
Not under
because what I'm worried is she's going to somehow call a mistrial or something, because that's what she did on previous case. Although, because one of the jurors just refused to deliberate. It was another cop killing case. And instead of saying, well, you fucking have to, or getting an alternate in or something, she just called a mistrial.
Well, that would be really bad if she did that, or if she held on to something, like if she got some sort of information about juror misconduct and sat on it, and then it was an acquittal, and then she said, well, actually, possibly, if it's, if you get the bailiff going, they're about to come back with an acquittal and go, we have to stop deliberations. I've been made aware of this.
Oh, she stops the testimony in the middle of the day all the time. If it ever gets going where like the defense has momentum with the witness, all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're releasing everyone today. It's like, it's 3 p.m. What are you talking about?
Yeah. No, to your question regarding can the judge overrule it? If a jury convicted and the judge felt like there was not sufficient evidence to support the conviction, they could issue an acquittal. They can't overturn an acquittal.
Okay.
Because once you've said, I want the jury to be the fact finder, they're ultimately the arbiters of that. If it's, but there's not like usually any questions of law gets decided in beforehand and like outside the presence of the jury.
Yeah.
And that's why the judge gets, overruled objections and stuff. So.
Did you find the text?
Oh, yes. We were looking at the text. I had a article here. Okay. I'm going to see if Reddit has it. Because here we go. Transcripts.
Oh, also, one of the detectives' names is like Buchanan, but Turtle Boy calls him Bukaki. And then one of the witnesses for the state who was there was referring to him during her testimony and straight up called him Detective Bukaki.
Stop it.
It was so great. Like, he's in their heads.
Oh, he says, okay, which text would you like?
I think if I'm not mistaken, somebody texts and he says, I'm here going through
there it is.
ours client's phone right now.
Here we go.
I can't even say that word, so
I'll find those. These are the ones he's texting his school friends January 29th, 16 hours into the investigation. He's given John O'Keefe's name and Karen, and he said she waffled him, basically just decided. He said he was banged up. The Canton paramedics, they said, was he beat up? The friend asked, was he beat up? And Michael Proctor said, that's what I thought after talking to the paramedics. Then I saw the guy, she hit him with her car. But I think he was pushing the narrative right away. So he also said, someone said, is she hot at least? And Proctor said, from all accounts, John didn't do anything wrong. She's a whack job C word. I'm not trying to get our stream taken.
No, but when he tries to spell it, I screamed it a minute ago. When he tries to spell it during his testimony, he's having to read these out. Auntie Bev makes him say it.
She's a whack job, huh? And then he said, because the guy said, is she hot at least? And Michael Proctor said, yeah, she's a babe with a weird Fall River accent, though no ass.
This is a person that He's the lead investigator of this case.
He says, "Oh, she's skating," and Michael Proctor says, "0 chance she skates. She's fucked."
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Why would you know that already?
So Michael Proctor texts his wife that he was interviewing Julie Albert, the theoretical suspect's mom, and was like, "It was fine, just a quick convo." These are pretty damning. He has no credibility as a law enforcement.
He also talks about some medical condition and says she has like a leaky pool.
There it is.
Something.
Michael Proctor texted his school friends a photo of Ms. Reed being escorted from the police barracks. The friend said, "Is that chick a smoke?" Michael Proctor said, nutbag, as Chief would say. "She's got a leaky balloon knot. It leaks poo."
And he had to answer, "What is this about?" And he was like, that was a regrettable comment I made about Mrs. Reed's medical condition.
She has IBS?
I don't really know.
Leaky balloon knots unite. Don't let him talk about it.
But imagine having to sit there and listen to this be read, said about you, and know that all these people are just bold-faced lying. Your life is on the line.
Yeah.
You know you didn't do this.
Yeah.
You lost your boyfriend.
Oh, this is great for her, though. If I had to listen to these texts,
but
I'd
imagine how hurtful that is.
If I don't care if I have to be hurt. I want him to say all the worst things to show he is
for
biased.
Sure. I'm just saying it also has to really hurt.
Yeah. Well, they said she was a smoke show with no ass. You can get an ass. Do some.
I would just be so pissed that I know for a fact they're all lying,
no,
and you're sitting there looking at me saying I said these things when you know I know that you're
and I know
lying.
you guys are all full of crap. Leaky balloon poo.
Yeah,
it was fine. Just a quick convo. He said, "We're going to lock up this whack job." Oh, there it is. So he texts a police group chat. "Funny, I'm going through his R-word client's phone. No nudes so far. I hate that man. I truly hate him."
Oh, yeah. That's when asked about David Yannetti, her attorney.
Okay, yeah.
He says, "I hate that man. I truly..." The cross when Alan Jackson is going after him when he's having to read these. Oh man, it's so good. Go watch it.
I like that. Alan
to have to we say text like it could be read in a court of law, especially if you're a fucking officer of the law.
Yeah. Oh, look, it says Julie's sister Jill attacked Turtle Boy Aiden outside of CF McCarthy's this evening in front of everyone as he and his date were leaving, and the Nagels, McAlberts, Daniels surrounded them. Spicy stuff.
Shut
Thanks,
up.
Noodle. New news. We'll look it up. Turtle Boy was attacked.
By who?
It looks like Julie's sister.
Julie, God, which one is she? Julie Nagel is...
Oh, here, get the chart up.
The friend of somebody.
Yeah. Let me see.
Julie Nagel. Yeah, also
it says Julie Albert's sister Jill, I think. I'm gonna type in Turtle Boy attacked.
Oh yeah. What was I about to say? Oh, she'll get Jen McCabe, Turtle Boy released DMs where she got drunk and texted him and stuff.
Okay. Oh, God.
Yeah, embarrassing.
So someone said, Clarence Woodson Emerson posted, "We were doing a little research for a project in Canton and decided to go to CF McCarthy's for dinner." Turtle Boy is a blogger that's been covering this case, if you're not familiar. He said, this guy, Clarence Woodson Emerson, who appears to be with Turtle Boy. "On our way in, we ran into an old friend. Didn't even recognize him at first until he immediately started filming us, then ran inside his old man's mediocre pizza shop yelling, 'Call the police.' We just want to eat we just want to eat dinner and stimulate the Canton economy. Video coming later." So I guess.
Well, to say his old man's pizza shop would be Colin.
So Colin's dad owns the pizza shop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they are saying Colin was there?
I guess so.
Filming it?
Oh, look. Is that Colin? Look at those sneakers. That looks like Colin-ish.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Jen McCabe is sisters with Nicole. Nicole is sister-in-laws with Julie. Okay, there we go.
So how do people there feel about this? Is everyone like admitting that the police are corrupt and this goes deep? Or are the only people that are supporting the people involved, which is the ball of the blue? So that sucks because when the people breaking the rules are the same ones making them, it kind of fucks everybody.
Then that's whenever we revolt. Thank you for the clarification. Clarence is also Turtle Boy's account. It did look like a selfie. It was throwing me off. But then he had shared it to the page Turtle Boy, so that also confused me. But I see he must have posted it.
This is when?
This was 4 hours ago. Turtle Boy.
So Colin was filming them and then went into his dad's pizza shop?
I guess so. He immediately started filming us, ran inside his old man's mediocre pizza shop, yelling, call the police. Yes, outside Chris Albert's pizza place. Thank you, Jimmy. The town hates them, says Brian.
The town hates the cops?
Yeah. Colin, his brother, and friends were there today. Okay. My goodness.
You would have to like move if you were her after this. Yeah. Like I would fear for my life.
Oh yeah, I would not feel safe certainly until the federal investigation is over.
That's what is going to be interesting is if anybody gets charges brought against them to stand trial for murder.
Yeah. If you someone asked what's the best free coverage, Law and Crime, I think is streaming.
Oh, let me see. I've been watching a lot of people covering it on TikTok. Let me see who
Emily
I've liked
Baker on YouTube.
Yeah.
She does full live streams with commentary, and then she does quick bits like a couple hours later to like the next day. And she's a lawyer, so she's also just got a really good voice and explains things very clearly and succinctly.
Did we talk about the end? Did we catch up on everything that's happened?
I don't think we quite got caught up. So we said, like you said, that it came out that there was this federal investigation into corruption. And so both sides, the Commonwealth and the defense said, okay, well, let's just stay the criminal proceedings until the conclusion of the federal investigation because we don't know what it's going to uncover. And the judge went, nope, we're going forward. And everyone said, well, we'd like not to. And she goes, la, 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 we're going forward. And they went
Even
forward.
The Commonwealth said,
correct?
We want to
yeah,
stop.
They agreed. It was an agreed continuance.
What would be the purpose?
She's wanted her 15 minutes of fame. I can't think of a good reason why.
To be like the person that makes it happen at the same time?
She wanted to be the judge that was on TV, I think. I don't know. That's my conjecture. Give me another good reason. I have not heard.
Wait, she wouldn't have been if it was the federal case first?
Who knows? Because if the federal case, it comes out, there's not going to be a Karen Reed trial because if the federal case comes out, hey, they framed this woman. It's massive.
You're saying she wanted it to go to trial.
Yeah. And because she doesn't care if it stops tomorrow, if the FBI goes, okay, we're going to arrest, everybody on this chart that we've pinned in the comments or whatever.
But also if she is biased to the Commonwealth, she might think it's advantageous for them to not wait because it would come out in the federal investigation and they wouldn't even have a chance to present their side.
Well, in the interest of justice for everybody, that sounds to me like there's a crumbling the basis, the foundation of your argument beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's unethical to go forward with that case for everybody involved. I think she should be sanctioned. That's what's crazy. That's what, from the bench. I think.
Oh, also she has a connection to one of the people involved.
Yeah, they should all get
her
sanctioned.
Sister is
you got to clean house.
Or her brother-in-law is friends with one of the witnesses. And the defense asked her to recuse herself and she refused.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
She refused the recuse.
Yeah, you can't refuse the recuse. You might get overturned on appeal, or ideally, you get acquitted because what's happening now is the trial is going on. Federal investigative reports are being made available to both the Commonwealth and the defense and the judge that are completely undermining the Commonwealth's case. It's a third party, unbiased. If we were watching some of the footage and it was these guys that are biomechanical experts that design the hockey rink for the NHL to minimize injury when you whack against, that's how their expertise, and the dog bite injury and all that. And it's all from the federal investigation, which sounds to me like for the feds to prove that there's this conspiracy and corruption, you would have to prove the motive for that. And the motive for that is the murder of John O'Keefe by this group of people. So whatever investigation Trooper Proctor did, all of that, as I told Paris, he's like a cat covering up shit on a tile floor. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, he's donezo for sure. And then the other one that tried to put himself off as this expert on the reconstruction of the crime scene and how it would have happened, which included Karen Reed backing up so forcefully into John O'Keefe, 220 pounds, 6'2", the taillight hitting his arm, at which point the taillight explodes, shatters, and then that's what cuts his arm. Somehow the cuts came after the taillight being jagged. It would make way, you know what I mean? Like you can't put the chicken came before the egg. You know what I mean? Also, then Alan Jackson kept saying, and then you're saying the victim did a pirouette, and he was like, I'm not calling it a pirouette. So they had this whole thing about, he was like, okay, a spin. He said it like would spin him around in the air and then flung him, 12 feet or whatever. Well, because Alan Jackson's done his homework, he's like, sir, do you have any type of certification in the laws of physics? Yeah. Just starts going down the list, asks him a basic physics. He's like, you mentioned kinematics or whatever it's called. And he's like, oh, kinematics? I think that's what it is. He's like, what science is that a subfield of? This guy couldn't answer anything. So it comes out finally that the highest level of education he has is an associate's degree, and that he took some training classes online, basically.
That's
and there's nothing wrong with that, but you can't present yourself as an expert witness when you don't have that much experience. This guy sounded like a complete idiot. The judge didn't say anything. The defense calls an expert that is an expert in dog bites to testify on that. And she says, yes, 100%. Those are a large dog attacked him and scratched him. She stumbled over her words a bit, trying to get out with a reasonable degree of medical certainty. So the judge starts, because it's in voir dire, starts grilling her about her qualifications, and is like, I just don't understand what your stance is, because you can back it up and see. She says 100% without a doubt it's a dog, and just the bias when you get they're so stupid. All of this is being recorded. Yeah. So people clip it all together and you look like a fucking idiot. They've got to be watching it, right?
Well, I think so. And like I said, I wonder if while they were off for the holiday, she watched some footage or watched some commentary, or somebody was like, you got to pump the brakes. You're looking like an idiot.
Or you're going to get charges brought against you.
Well, I mean, or that maybe even just bar complaints or whatever, judicial complaints, but also just overturned if there was a conviction. Yeah. There's a lot of preservable errors. It's my understanding that she doesn't let them get as much out as they want to, but when she's overruling certain objections for certain evidence that should have been let in, or they're trying to bring something in and she won't let them, and it could be reversible under Massachusetts law. So that sucks. Oh, you don't have to go to jail first and wait for it to get overturned. Like you'd want a fair trial on the front end, but nobody really gets that.
The Commonwealth also just withheld a bunch of evidence from the defense.
Yeah, that's
including all of the deleted text and phone calls from Jen McCabe's phone. Oh, also at 12:34, I think did I say there's 6 missed calls? 6 calls from Jen's phone to John's phone. Why? I would posit they're trying to find his phone.
Yeah, I would.
And it was found underneath him, and it's under his body. Why would it even? How would that work?
It flipped through the air.
Yeah.
And it sailed.
Or somebody tossed it down and then put his body on top or something.
I'm going to see if Massachusetts has an open files act. Texas law, for a lot of reasons, is really biased against defendants and frequently, but we have the Michael Morton Act, which is the Texas Open Files Act, which mandates that every shred of evidence that the state has, they have to turn full copies of their files over to the defense, every piece of it. Because you have Brady, which I'm in the middle of reading a book right now about kind of the failed promise of Brady, which is the Supreme Court case that essentially says it's a violation of due process if exculpatory evidence is withheld. But so in general, most non-corrupt departments would err on the side of here's all we have. Corrupt ones tend to say, well, we didn't think it's exculpatory, but in a place like Texas where you have an open records, open files law, you have to give everything.
You don't get to make the choice.
You know, every shred of
it's made for you.
Every email, every text.
Much like the rights over our own bodies.
You know, well, not here in Texas. But yeah, so Texas actually does good having that law, but almost no states have those. We're one of the few. And
so you could withhold something and it doesn't, you're not charged with something. I mean, they found out, the defense found out, and then like they had to turn over stuff to them. But it also, what else can that be applied to?
What else can what be applied to?
The evidence they're withholding.
Yeah, they call it open file discovery. Connecticut has it. I wonder if Massachusetts has it.
Everybody's phone calling everybody and deleted shit and everything. They allowed Jen McCabe to delete text messages between her and her daughter from that night. Her daughter just happened to be the one that came and picked up Colin Albert. The police allowed that. Everyone was allowed to have their phones, meet with each other privately. The one guy, Brian Higgins, fucking drove military base and threw it in the dumpster. Like, what? I mean, just crazy shit. But like, even then, it's like they can still get stuff. I guess it's not as easy.
So that's the thing is, so it's whatever evidence the police have. So if they didn't go and search everybody's phone,
but even if you throw your phone out and you rip your SIM card in half, some stuff is saved somewhere, but not everything.
Correct. Yeah, it would depend where, and it depends on the backup of your phone. If you have backup,
he didn't transfer anything to his new phone.
Then text messages would be saved through his phone provider. It depends. Was it iPhone or Android?
I don't think they've said.
Maybe it sounds like the type of person to have an Android. No, I mean no shade. It just sounds like somebody that's like, I don't want my stuff in the ecosystem. I don't trust Steve Jobs. You know what I mean?
That's why he claims he did it, is because he found out his number had been leaked. And so he just got a whole new phone and phone number and threw it in the dumpster.
He just in case. You never know.
At a military base.
I'm always like, it's like Ron Swanson throwing his computer in the dumpster. It's like, it's not on the computer. It's like it's on the internet.
Yeah, he still had to read all the sexting between him. Sexting, I use that term loosely. It's just like this obnoxious flirting between him and Karen that night, which again, nobody wants to have to hear that read when you're like, if I had known that was the night my boyfriend would be beaten to death, I wouldn't have sent these texts.
No, I mean, and you're right. So he thinks, I'm going to throw it in the dumpster on the military base. But when you've texted Karen, you've texted your provider who texted her provider who texted Karen.
Plus she has all of them.
That's what I'm saying. She has all of them. And even if you were Googling stuff and you throw your phone away, Google knows what you searched.
Yeah.
Like it goes to somebody else. So that's why I was like, these are all Ron Swansons who are like, I'm going to throw it in the dumpster.
But how would you, so you just like pull, you just pull the reports, like the search engine reports from Sprint or AT&T or whatever?
You would have to subpoena Google probably. And you would also subpoena Sprint and AT&T.
So then what's the fucking point of even throwing away your phone?
None. They're dumb. These are very stupid people. So
why does everyone throw their phone away then?
I don't know who's throwing their phone away.
People get rid of their phone when they do crimes.
Well, good luck. If they get caught, I think we usually hear about them. It's an emerging science. Like here's the thing that the FBI can do. When everybody's like, we all left. Guess what? They just know. They'll pull tower data and they see all your phones are standing around. And then also they'll pull your
like little Sims, like little ants down there.
Yes, we're all, as long as you have this with you, guess what? If you turn it off, it doesn't fucking matter. They can still track it because the battery can't be removed from these phones because and when I say they, I sound Uncle Heather's coming out. Y'all know what that means. They're tracking us up in the sky with the clouds, but they really are. I mean, like the proverbial they, but your data and what you do kind of goes everywhere, and there's no like shaking it.
That's crazy.
There's no shaking it.
I don't like that.
I know somebody earlier said, what if you use a private browser? Well, they'll just include that in the subpoena and Google will turn it over.
So like,
I don't know about DuckDuckGo, but Google.
But I will say they're to a degree, things are deletable because unless you have the money to have the expert that's doing the deep dive on your phone, that wasn't going to turn up. When the state did the search of her phone, none of that was revealed. It was only until the much more expensive expert went in and did stuff. So like, you know, if that hadn't been done, they would have got away with it.
100%. You're talking about inequities in the justice system. You're very right.
But I'm saying like, yes, but what I'm saying is you can delete stuff to a degree.
My question is,
and not be caught to a degree.
My question is, so the lead investigator, Trooper Proctor, I can look, they didn't search their phones. They received screenshots. Didn't. So that's what I'm saying. When you're like,
they didn't ask to.
That's what I'm saying. So if it was anybody except a police officer as a homeowner.
Jen McCabe said she voluntarily handed hers over, but they also allowed her to delete things, admittedly, before she did.
And also, do you think Trooper Proctor said, I want you to dig in every nook and cranny. I want you to find stuff she deleted?
No, of course not. Yeah. I'm just saying sometimes those in cases, that's the only test that's going to get run. So imagine how many other times somebody is innocent, but it just isn't discovered because they're doing the bare minimum to recover stuff.
Yeah, they don't have an attorney that's like, hey, we want to see those phones. We want to subpoena those phones. We think it's fair to turn them over. No, you're 100% right. And if you have a public defender who has a bunch of cases, they're doing and they think, man, I would love to search every single one of those person's phones, but my office does not have the budget to do that. Even if we wanted to.
And my client certainly doesn't.
No, and my investigator has 30 other cases we have to investigate together. So you're talking about the inequities in the justice system, certainly. I wonder, how would we balance? Throw it in the chat. We're going to solve problems today. How do we balance all of our want for privacy, but the need that we would all have to get to the truth?
I'm not even.
You're doing great. You're doing great. You know, we all, because should we all just text like the best version of ourselves because it's forever? I guess so.
No, because that's not honest.
But I'm saying the best version of yourself. Ask yourself, do I want to be this shitty person?
But I don't think that there are some things I've heard read in court that I've texted. There's many texts I've sent that I'm not proud of. I imagine everybody feels that way.
No, yeah.
We've all texted or, written things in a group chat we wish we could take back. But I wouldn't say that as a whole that makes me a shitty person.
No. I'm saying the type of person that would, I don't know, cover up a murder.
Yeah. They're very shitty people. Yeah. But this isn't the first time I bet they've been real shitty.
Or like pulled strings to help somebody or not get
They all are very you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yeah, right. No.
So wait, where did we leave off in the?
Well, so
everybody, Jen testified I hit him. Mm-hmm. Everybody basically that, I don't think the state called anybody. Or wait, maybe they did.
They called a lot of people.
Oh yeah, they did.
Pull up a list.
I said that backwards. Everybody they called that they wanted to testify. Some people they just decided we're not going to go there because we know that nobody's going to get on the stand and have their name associated with this. I think that's why all the expert witnesses suck too.
Yeah, because it's, what do you want me to go up there and lie? And then even the expert witnesses didn't lie. They all gave reasonable doubt. It's crazy to me to hear what they testified
They tried to lie. They agreed to the narrative that the prosecution was painting.
The medical examiner for the Commonwealth.
Not them, but all the cops that are involved.
Oh, yeah, they're all liars. But I'm saying, like, to have an expert witness, those are all the cops are the
witnesses.
They're fact witnesses as to what their role in the investigation. But for the Commonwealth to say, this is the person that's going to tell about the injuries, and for her to just go, it wasn't a car accident, I don't know what it was. I was like, who is this? And it was like, she works. They should not have taken this case to trial. It's so corrupt.
No,
it's
definitely.
so corrupt. Speaking of police, they're coming to get us. We're just letting know.
A month after the murder, yes, I'm calling it the murder, Colin Albert was seen in a photograph with busted up knuckles.
And how did that happen? Did he testify about that?
He did. And it's embarrassing. It's like the fact that grown adults, multiple of them, sat around in a circle to get their story straight, and this is what they went with.
Yes.
Every turn sounds more ludicrous than the one before it.
So
he said that he said that he was walking up a driveway and it was icy, and he slipped.
Oops.
And to brace himself from falling, like anybody would do, and
we all
naturally do, he just caught himself with his fist.
That's how I fall.
And in his other hand, he had his phone or a drink. And also, it only hurt his knuckles. And also, in his original testimony to the grand jury, he said that he got it from hitting a boxing bag.
Okay.
So, like, everybody's stories changed from the grand jury testimony until later, and they all are just like, yeah.
They're like,
well, that's what happened. I thought it was that, but now I realize it's. I mean, they're just so unapologetic about it. It's crazy. The arrogance that they all have, because you have to have that to say these lies out loud, and sell it. It's just like nauseating.
Yeah, to think like, no one's gonna catch me. I'm untouchable.
Yeah.
If we all just
I don't know if Brian Albert, did he ever testify?
Has Brian Albert testified? Let me see.
I've seen testimony from Colin,
probably not.
Jen, and some clips from some blonde-haired lady.
Oh no, it looks
like
Skeletor. Wait, Brian Albert, he looks like he did. Tense cross-examination.
So what did he say what was his answer for why he didn't fucking go outside when all this hubbub was happening on his front yard?
Let's see. They accused him of destroying cell phone evidence or attempting to destroy cell phone evidence. He happened to get rid of his phone the day before there was a court-ordered cell phone preservation order. I wonder if he had a little heads up.
And they're all just like, what? I'm allowed to do that. That's my right.
Broken. Yeah. My birthday was around then, and I wanted to get it for my birthday.
They all it's just like so defensive. Everything is, they don't have to just be covering something up. They also have to be complete dickheads about everything.
Yeah, he said that he called an ATF agent.
Yes.
Brian Higgins.
That's the guy that he was flirty texting with Karen.
Butt dialed him.
Yes. That word was used a lot.
Let's see.
Butt dials that were answered.
Let me see.
I heard that people that like Colin's school think he did it.
Yeah, he apparently the crux of Alan Jackson's cross was how basically Brian, he's doing a great job laying the foundation that Brian Albert is a liar. Like he said, you said to the grand jury, I don't know this lady. I never barely had a conversation with her. We can prove y'all hung out like 8 times. You said that night of that in question that you didn't talk to her all night at the bar. We have footage of you talking to her several times at the bar.
And then they're presented with that footage and they're just like, I don't know. It's not me. I don't know. I don't know who that is. Like that kind of denial.
And he said there's a video from...
Who's the lady he said he didn't talk to? Karen?
Yeah. Okay. He's like, I don't know her. He's trying to kind of distance himself. Jackson showed a video from Albert's backyard and asked if it was possible to move a large, heavy object out of the basement and not bring it through the house. And Albert said, there's a bulkhead door you can use, yes. So you could bring something out of the basement.
That's convenient.
Let's see. He said neither Karen nor John entered his home that night, which I doubt that.
You know what's so fucked up?
Yeah.
That I just thought about, which is, like, he was still alive.
Yeah. It's horrible. They killed that man.
Why? Not only did they kill him, but then it wasn't like a fight gone too far. It was a fight gone too far. Instead of then calling the ambulance to help maybe save his life, they made the decision that whatever the penalties would be, the outcome of like, you know, even if he did survive, that they would get in trouble for or some shit.
Yeah.
Outweighed this man's life. So they were like, put him out there.
Yeah. And
he was covered in vomit too.
So, yeah.
So, but also with the broken glass, because I don't know, like, if they originally were going to, like, say she hit him with the glass or that he was, like,
he fell,
stumbling home and
he must have fallen or something.
And that's, he, like, fell with the glass and that's cut his arm and then he just, like, passed out and died of hypothermia. Like, how would anybody explain the beating he had taken?
No, you can't. Well, and it's funny that you say that he was, it's not funny, but that you bring up that he was alive because Massachusetts, I was just looking it up because I like different states, they grade murder differently. And Massachusetts, first-degree murder is either premeditated murder or murder that is executed with extreme cruelty. And that is, the defendant caused the victim's death by a method that surpassed the cruelty inherent in any taking human life. I don't know the case law on that, but I don't know that it would be hard to argue that you beat someone up so severely and describe, you know, those vicious injuries and left them for 2 hours in your house, hurting, moaning, and then left him outside alive because he was pronounced dead at the hospital and he was actively bleeding when they came upon him. Ergo, he had been alive and just, and how long to die in snow? Like you knew you were about to go.
Well, they said he died. The medical examiner said he died of hypothermia and blunt force trauma
to the back
of
the
the
head.
I mean, he's unconscious basically and in the snow, but still breathing, and then just eventually dies.
Yeah, so then that's the
which
question.
Is why you would Google "Hoss long to die in cold," which somebody pointed out. So we haven't talked about that though. So she misspells it, the HOS, at 2:27 a.m. At like, I don't know if this is the exact time, but 6:03 a.m.
Okay.
She Googles again, but this time she says Hoss long to die in CIKD. She misspells cold. And then she immediately after that Googles again Hoss long to die in cold. She thought with that 603 search that it would override the one at 227, thereby kind of like erasing it. However, she misspelled something she had already misspelled. So she fucked it up again. And then she immediately realized her mistake and Googled the original search of Hoss long to die in cold. But all of those things were there only because the defense found them because she deleted all of them. And
she thought it would
she didn't. Yes. She
override.
That's what the reasoning is from the defense.
I just really I underestimate what people know about technology. I'm frankly shocked.
She claims, and that's what this is also like. What
I'm
sucks
shocked
so much
that you would think that
is she's like telling her testimony is like. Karen was hysterical. She was saying, I hit him. And then she told me to Google how long to die in the cold. My hands were shaking because my friend was dying. And so then I Googled that. And like to be Karen and be like, bitch, you know none of that fucking happened. And you're sitting up there
lying,
saying all this. The restraint that woman has to not fly across the courtroom.
And
in fact, quite on the contrary, she shows up every day looking fabulous, and she's very, very pretty, and is always very composed. And her parents are there every day.
Damn.
Watching your 44-year-old daughter be on trial for this.
Yeah, for something it's like a Amanda Knox-esque, where it's like a lot of players going, we're gonna make sure we get this conviction, you know.
And then
seeing a woman they don't like, and misogynistic undertones, calling it a C word and all that.
Oh yeah, and then
this whack job C word,
in other family group chats, there's things said about her. I mean, it's just like they did a terrible job of covering stuff up, but I think they just thought nobody was gonna dig deep enough.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it was probably like, oh well, they're not gonna look into this, or you can't fathom, they're going to she's going to find a forensic guy that's going to give us all a fucking colonoscopy of to like literally get up in every possible orifice and every possible like you can't fathom that. So you're right. People are like, okay,
they probably didn't realize how much money she had.
No, and they're like, okay, if we go down and delete this, we're going to delete as much as like the state would usually find. Plus, we'll just give them the screenshots. We'll be okay. And then when it's like,
they thought they were real smart.
Oh yeah, they're like Apple and Sprint, and everybody's been subpoenaed. You're like, oh no, I've made a huge mistake. Because I think all that's going to come out. Because like I said, I think everybody involved that drug him out in the snow and left someone that to me that's
you saw it
cruelty.
If you saw it happen, how are you going to tell me you were in that house and you didn't know somebody was being a huge fight was going on?
Yeah, no,
like of course you did. You saw it happen, I mean, and that's why she takes them home at 1 a.m. And also somebody comes to pick up Colin at 1 a.m. Everybody fucking scurries like cockroaches except her, and then the homeowners starting to paint the narrative and cover everything up.
Now hang on a minute.
It's truly like so it's hard to believe it's real because it's so like Game of Thrones, like, or I guess it really like some movie that Matt Damon would write about, just like all these cops in Boston intertwined and like covering up something they all did, and this one woman going against him, and because it's so outrageous.
Yeah, no.
And then you think, how many other police departments are like this? Or again, like how many people can't go to these links, and so they're just falsely imprisoned.
Yeah, you'll see like sometimes when that's why the SMU Decent Center is like a really important organization, because they study like any sort of a criminal justice policy institute. Oftentimes will go in and study like conviction rates in a county, like a smaller county, and it's like we have 100% conviction rate. You're kind of like, nobody has what? And it's like people aren't getting a defense, or there's fabricated evidence, there's collusion, they're all targeting like non-English speakers who can't defend themselves, whatever. So you're right, like it's probably happening a ton, and there's just not enough people watching.
Or that have the funds to do anything about it.
I'm interested in...
I wonder how much he is per hour. What do you do with an attorney like that? Is it hourly, or you just pay them like a retainer?
That you would probably pay like a weekly rate or something like that.
Really? Because I believe David Yannetti is a local lawyer, and she initially hired him. And then when all of these major players started getting involved, she was like, this is going to come down to digital evidence. And she looked for an attorney that specialized in that. And my man Alan Jackson's from LA.
Alan Jackson, he's going to be staying somewhere.
He represented Kevin Spacey and got him off, no pun intended, in that case, but it all came down to digital evidence.
Yeah.
So if you see that
it works.
Well, also like, oh, this is a big time celebrity, so if he can do that for him, like, I'm sure that he can help me.
A few defense attorneys in Massachusetts have weighed in that the estimate for her defense costs is approximately $2 million, if not more.
Total?
Yeah. Start to finish. So over the course of however long.
I mean, if you have it, and it means you don't have to go to prison, it's money well spent, but who has that?
Yeah. People on Reddit said the lawyers have a fundraising page, which they maintain, which is, let's see, it appears to contain many of Karen's close personal friends and families donating into the 5-figure range.
Damn.
That brings them over to $250,000 at least with donations.
So it's really, people are helping her a lot too.
And it says
it's not just her money.
Was a well-paid professional and a financial analyst. She's probably personally bankrupting herself, but she wasn't coming for money. Perhaps her immediately family, like parents, are helping as much as possible. Anyway.
But guess what, girl? You about to get so many book deals and a documentary and a Netflix series.
TED Talk.
You're gonna you're gonna be set.
Memoir. Yeah. That's what's one of those where like
I hope
I'm making an investment.
You did.
I'm making an investment in my future right now. Seriously, like you could go on to be like, hopefully, if she sees this as her redemption opportunity and goes on and says, I want to create a nonprofit that funds digital evidence analysis for indigent defendants who need it.
Man, yeah, no, for sure.
Turn it on.
Now, how would the witnesses get charged?
That's what I was just looking at, because Massachusetts does have, I would say accessory after the fact, but it says
who brings the charges.
I would say the state would.
But would they against them, since they're in their back pocket?
Oh, it would be like in the Murdoch case where you have to call in the state level, and in this case, whoever I'm not entirely sure on the makeup of the executive branch of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, but like in Texas, you have like the Texas Rangers like investigate law enforcement. So
there's somebody over somebody.
Whoever the state troopers bosses are, it's that law enforcement agency.
Oh, like SLED.
Yes, yeah, and it may be that there's a like the Attorney General's office has a corruption division or something that would look into it or whatever. So it would have to be.
Well, we already know the feds are looking into it.
And so the FBI is looking into it. My question is, would the FBI charge them with something federal, because, you know, they're perpetuating this conspiracy? The thing with government always, the federal government's jurisdiction only comes under the purview whenever the crime affects the means of interstate commerce. So usually that's like the internet or a bank. They figure out a way to phones. They figure out a way that you use the internet. So they might try to swoop them up. Honestly, though, most of the time, the feds are interested in their own jurisdiction, which would be, in this case, police corruption, and going in and saying, we clean up this corrupt police department and we handed off this investigation to the Creighton Waters, who, in the Murdoch case. But
Alan Jackson and Creighton Waters, first of all.
We need to see them on a panel.
Can I get, or somewhere. Just like, can they both be lawyers for the same trial?
Okay, it says staties are the tippy top under the AG. Yeah, so you'd have to probably have like a task force or something like that.
They have to want to bring the charges?
No, I mean, I think, how far do you think it goes? I mean, is it the governor? Like, somebody's got a boss all the way up to the governor and the state legislature. There's probably a...
You mean how far after the Canton PD does it go?
Yeah, I don't think that it like...
Well, Brian Higgins is with like ATF or something, isn't he?
Yeah, but I'm saying one guy in ATF, all of ATF's not going to be like, we're going to protect our guy. At some point, they're going to slap cuffs on it and be like, you idiots were sloppy and we have to send you to jail.
Somebody
now.
At least will have to take the fall.
So I imagine it will be a state level prosecution for their role in the murder. I want to see what this family exception is under Massachusetts law, because they do have.
Oh, he had an iPhone 11. Who, the victim?
That's what they're saying. John had.
Yeah, his watch data also. I think also his phone showed him going like in that 12:21 to 12:24, and then nothing again until the next morning at like 6 a.m. when Trooper Proctor was walking around with it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Let's see. So an interesting twist, though, is it looks like in Massachusetts, if you aid in the so somebody other than you commits a murder. So you're Jen McCabe, you're in the house, whatever. And then afterwards you help assist them covering it up, whatever. You knew that they did it because you were there and aware of it. And then you tried to escape detection by hiding stuff, moving stuff, not calling her, whatever. There's what's called the family defense, though, and it says husband, wives, parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, brothers, or sisters of the principal can invoke the family exception to avoid conviction as an accessory after the fact. Relations can be blood or through adoption. The wife of Boston bomber could not be convicted under Massachusetts law as an accessory after the fact because of this exception. So
the wife of the Boston bomber?
That's what it says. So in this case, who was convicted? Let's say, who was the principal that got into the fight?
I think Colin was the principal.
So hypothetically, Colin and Brian Albert.
Yeah, but I think Colin would be the first. Well, and then I think his uncle jumped in.
Because I think, Well,
and then I think the dog got involved.
yes. But then the question becomes, well, it was the combination of the blunt force trauma and the hypothermia that killed him. But so would he have died without the hypothermia? Would he have died without the blunt force trauma?
He would have died without medical attention, which they weren't going to give him inside or out.
So I was just thinking, let's say you charge the people that inflicted the blows as principals. So that would be hypothetically Sergeant Detective and his nephew Colin.
Yes.
And then if you were going to charge accessories,
I think everybody there should be charged.
But wives, so what's her head? That means Nicole Albert's okay. She can invoke the family exception.
But what does this mean?
It means
what happens if you invoke the family exception?
You can't get a charge as accessory after the fact. So
how? You just playing a fucking wild card?
Yeah, brothers or sisters. So here's the thing:
you just get a get out of jail free card if you're related. This doesn't make any sense.
Massachusetts, what's up? I'll look more into it, but it's weird to me.
It seems like
I'm not familiar.
That
with
would allow a lot of people that have done heinous things to just get out of not being charged for doing them.
The real rub would be, and this would be some information that Julie Nagel should be aware of, because she's not blood related to anybody, and if she was present and she assisted with it, she wouldn't be able to invoke this family defense. And I imagine people that know about it would want to find another patsy. And so whoever was present, Caitlin Albert, the daughter of Detective Sergeant Brian Albert Jr., the son of Detective Sergeant, they could invoke the family exception and not be charged as accessory after the fact.
What world is this?
Massachusetts law.
Why do you get to decide that?
I'm not deciding.
Not you, them. Why do they they just get to say no, I don't want to be involved. And then they're like, okay, well then you don't have to be. It's but what if they were clearly a part of this? Why should they get off just because they're related?
That's an interesting law. Is
that unusual?
That's what I was like. I gotta look this up.
Does Texas have this?
Not to my knowledge.
What is the chat saying?
What are y'all saying about Uncle Heather has me signed out of my phone? How can a person? Let's see. I'm gonna type in the statute number. I've got it right here. Hold on. Massachusetts. Paste. I'm going to read it for myself. Let's see. I got to spell that right. Okay, let me look. I'm just going to pull up this. Okay, let's see. Okay. My goodness. Yeah, no, it says the fact. So whoever, it's vital. This is my opinion. Here's my opinion. Here's how I won't say get around it, but the law specifically names these relationships. This is where this tangled web we weave is pertinent to the conviction, in my opinion. So ignore the gunshots you hear in the background. That's just
so many.
It was cicadas
earlier. The same thing happened last night.
And then
they're still going.
It becomes the sounds of gunshots. But this is Massachusetts general law. And I'll give you the code site. It's 274 section 4. And it's talking about accessory after the fact. And it says the fact that the defendant being, so say for instance, Colin Albert gets charged with murder for beating up, and then we're going to charge other people with accessory after the fact who were there. So these people would be the defendant. So the fact that these people are the husband or wife, parent, grandparent, child, grandchild, brother or sister of the offender shall be a defense to the prosecution under this section.
I don't think anybody there applies to that.
So I was going to say, I would say pull up that family tree,
because it didn't say uncle.
Except for his mother who was there, or a sibling if one of his siblings was there. So I would say if you are yeah, it's weird that the law is just like you don't have to get charged if you're related.
Colin Albert.
All right, not spouses, no husband, no wife. Parent or grandparent was there. Was either of his parents there?
Hold on, which one? Where is he?
He's over
Colin's here.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand this breakdown.
We're on to something here.
This is saying Julie Albert and Chris Albert
are married.
And then Chris Albert Jr.
That's their child, their oldest child. And then their next youngest child is
Colin?
Yes, so he's the middle boy.
So Chris Albert Jr. he has a brother.
Yes, Colin has a brother.
And then juvenile male.
They don't have the name because they're underage.
Okay.
So Julie Albert was there. Thank you, Rash Trick. So Julie Albert,
his mom.
So if he's charged with murder because of extreme and cruel nature, beating someone up and leaving them outside, letting a dog chew on him, and not getting him medical help. If you charge Colin Albert with murder, hypothetically, his mom would have a defense to being charged as accessory after the fact by virtue of the way Massachusetts law is written. Now,
enacting the family.
It's called the family.
Family rule. I keep wanting to call it the family plan, like it's
the family defense
cell phone plan.
Yeah, it's a family plan. It's a
family plan.
But
well, they have to pick their top 5, and I think we've got them. So
no husband, no wife.
Colin, he doesn't have one.
No parent. So parent would be Julie Albert, so she'd be off. Grandparent wasn't there. Doesn't have children or grandchildren.
Wait. Okay, yeah. His dad wasn't there.
And brother or sister. So I don't know. Was Chris Albert there? I don't know. I'm sorry. Chris Albert Jr. was there. Chris Albert was at the pizza parlor. It's a hot pizza. So I think the move would be if you were a non-corrupt prosecutor who wanted to, and the evidence supported.
Wait, is she growling?
Yeah, she's growling at something.
What are you growling at?
Probably a possum or something. The evidence supported the charges. I would charge Colin Albert as principal, and then everybody else as accessory after the fact. Because, like you said, if Colin's the one that started the fight, you don't want to also if you charge Colin and Michael as principals, he at his trial goes, I didn't beat him up, it was my uncle. And at his trial, he goes, I didn't beat him up, it was the kid.
I was thinking, do you think that that his uncle would give himself up to save Colin?
That's a great question, and he might, and that's something that you could do and give himself up to say, and none of these people had anything to do with it. I told them all to stay upstairs. I'm going to take the fall for everybody.
You think he would do that?
He might try, but the question then becomes, as the Commonwealth, like I said, the non-corrupt prosecutorial division of the Commonwealth that will find to do this, do you say, that's really nice, but I actually have evidence that you guys were all in on it because the FBI handed me all these texts, part of their investigation when you all got fired, and I'm going to have to go ahead and bring these charges. It's really not up to you.
Yeah.
And I do have sufficient evidence beyond a reasonable doubt.
That's why I'm saying it shouldn't be up to them just because they're the mom or dad.
Yeah.
Like, what if his dad, well, I guess if his dad had been the one. Yeah, if his dad had been there and witnessed the whole thing, he wouldn't have to testify.
Ruben Flores wouldn't get in trouble under this law, in my opinion. I don't think he would. The way that the law is it's written, unless I'm misunderstanding it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you would say like,
why would you even have this law?
It said Massachusetts recognizing the importance of the familial relationship. I'm like, what in the mafia rotten is this?
That's what I'm saying. Everybody's in on it.
What is this? It says the family protects their own. I fear that nothing will happen in this case. At the very least, the feds are involved. They're not going to expend this much effort. It's like J.P. Miller. The federal investigators don't come to town and look under your drawers to go, nothing. We didn't find anything.
Yeah, they're not going to waste their time.
They looked at a bunch of stuff in their office and had more than enough to get funding to come down. So
yeah, I think once the feds are involved, you're done.
You can't control them.
Now it might be something.
It's out of your zone of control.
That isn't murder related. It might be like more financial, or I feel like this can't be the only thing that is corrupt about this department.
No, for sure. A lot of people in the chat were postulating that John O'Keefe and Colin's fight was not merely on site because of neighbors. He was a whistleblower of some kind.
I have read that Colin allegedly was selling
Yeah.
drugs and John was about to whistleblow. Or,
like tell on him.
John knew about it and was going to say something to higher ups. And so that was another reason there was beef. My question, though, is Jen McCabe knows all of this history between them, right?
Between who?
Her nephew and John.
I think so. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, you would assume,
maybe.
right?
Yeah, they seem pretty close.
So then why would you invite him back to a house where you knew your nephew was going to be?
Unless the nephew was like, let me get at him. I don't know. Or he didn't know he was getting invited. Brian Albert didn't know he was getting invited, or Jim McCabe didn't know the extent to which they didn't like each other. And was like, I don't know, he's the dad of my friend's soccer kids. Or there's texts that say, get him over here, we're going to beat his ass, teach him a lesson. But that would have to come out in an FBI investigation. But I think that her defense attorney would have that already. So
also, what's crazy is because she waited, I think, outside the house for like 10 minutes or so. I think she was there like when it happened.
Oh, outside? Oh, I think so.
I think Karen Reed was outside in her car while that fight was happening inside.
Which is so sad.
Yeah.
Because as much as they were, bitching at each other and bickering and everything, you don't.
Of course not.
And you don't be with somebody for that long without, you truly do love them and stuff.
Oh, I mean, and like the recordings of them at the crime scene, she is hysterical. She's beside herself. Like, she doesn't sound like someone that committed murder.
No, that's what someone said. In all the audio recordings of her, she's raw and real.
It's very, it's sad. And she's also probably still drunk.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You can't. It's like you have no filter. Mm-hmm. Noodle said John had just been promoted into the sex crimes division. So.
That's interesting.
I did not know that. Thank you for that information. Yeah, it's pretty corrupt. Well, we have any closing thoughts we want to do? We can see where the case has been and where
I think they had several expert witnesses, but then she stopped the day at like 3 p.m. again because they were off for Juneteenth. Mm-hmm. And then
it was like 2 half days.
She promised that there was going to be like full days, Thursday and Friday, and there weren't.
Like exactly 1:00.
But she keeps saying that they're on track, and it's gonna be handed over to the jury, I think, next week.
Yeah, it says that Reed's defense team. This was just published 3 hours ago. It said Monday will mark 29 days of testimony in the highly publicized trial. Her defense team told NBC 10 Boston that they only have 3 witnesses left to call: Dr. Frank Sheridan, a pathologist, and 2 accident reconstructionists, Daniel Wolf, PhD, and Andrew Rensler, PhD. So closing arguments could happen as early as Tuesday. Prosecutors for the state rested Friday, so the defense called their first 3 witnesses, including the snowplow driver who testified Friday. He saw nothing where the flagpole was that night, allegedly.
The flagpole's in the Albert's front yard.
Yes. The defense called the retired emergency room forensic pathologist and dog attack expert, Dr. Maria Russell. It was her opinion that they were from possibly a large dog. It was definitely an animal attack. And finally,
and that was the one that the judge questioned and basically patronized and was like, I don't know if I want to allow this witness because she just sounds like she isn't sure of herself. But she had no problem with the guy who didn't even know what the type of science was that he was studying and couldn't explain anything.
But he's fine. He can let him go in. It says the president of the final witness on Friday was the president of the digital investigations firm who testified. The Hoslong to die.
He was such a sweet man, and he was so polite.
Richard Green. He said it happened at or before 2:27 a.m. before his body was found. Apparently, more demonstrators will be at the courthouse. There was a fight. Yeah, they said the report here about the Turtle Boy fight, a fight Sunday night outside of CF McCarthy.
Yeah, we heard about it before it broke.
What? Take that. breaking news here in the chat. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. We'll keep watching it. Maybe we'll go live after a verdict or after closing arguments. We're going live.
I did have one more question.
Go ahead.
So the state's case was 29 days of testimony, and then it gets turned over to the defense. But then the defense is only going to do a couple of days?
Yeah, you don't have to belabor the point. You've had cross-examination this whole time, so you've got to crack at him. Basically, if you, at every witness that the Commonwealth has put forth, if you're able to get your reasonable doubt point in, then you're good. Because then in your closing argument, you're restricted to what's been entered into evidence. So you want to go, the medical examiner for the state said it could not be determined to be an automobile accident. That's reasonable doubt. The guy with the associate's degree for the state, in fact, said da-da-da-da. He said he was sure, and then he actually changed his mind. That's reasonable doubt. Every single Jen McCabe, Brian Albert, Colin, he fell down on his knuckle. That's why his knuckles were bloody. Okay. And then you just go bam, bam, bam. And then our own expert said da-da-da-da. So if also once stuff has been testified to in the Commonwealth's case, she argued that Bev or whatever wouldn't let something in because she said it was cumulative. Oh, she was talking about some evidence of Caitlin Albert's, which would be Brian Albert, the MMA fighter's daughter's relationship with investigators and stuff. They wouldn't let that in because they said it's cumulative, even though it hadn't quite been proven.
Was she the one that was the EMT that was also there?
So yeah.
Also is like another type of first responder that's just lying.
Yeah, it's really at the bare minimum, people that have lied in this investigation should be fired because I think we should hold them to a high standard.
For sure.
I think, attorneys
fired and also charged with multiple things depending on who you were.
Yeah, impeding the investigation, making stuff up. Like I said, accessory after fact. Anyway,
murder.
Somebody should be charged with murder. I think this man was murdered in an extremely cruel way. It's
well,
really
I hope that, for sure. Especially in these poor fucking kids, dude.
Yeah.
That what loss to have suffered in such a short amount of your life.
Really gruesome.
Such great loss. Imagine how that shapes them forever.
No, it's heartbreaking for them. And especially because someone said they were 13 and 16. So while they are minors, you're old enough that you're going to hear noise and stuff around town. So I wish them peace and maybe they can move somewhere. I don't know. You're not away from your friends.
I know his John O'Keefe's brother, has been in the courtroom, but I don't know that they've mentioned his parents, so perhaps they've passed away.
Yeah, while we say free Karen Reed, because there is a person who's gonna perhaps, hopefully not be convicted for what seems like a crime she didn't commit. There's also a person who doesn't get justice, who was a cop that was treated like a literal piece of garbage. They threw him out on the curb, like where you would put bulk trash. So, and
then went to great lengths to cover it up.
And so he would not, and his family and his kids wouldn't get justice. So, I say his kids, his niece and nephew, but they are his kids. So those kids and his brother and his family deserve, hopefully the FBI will blow the lid on this whole thing.
You can't think you're above the law just because you are the law.
What I say, I'll say a bunch of long stuff and then Christy will just come in and be like, and it's perfect, and you're right.
I mean, we should all be infuriated. Why we don't get that luxury?
Absolutely. And like you said, for every one wealthy white lady that can afford to pay for this, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of poor men and women and non-binary people and people of color being railroaded by a system and not having the means to fight it. So bear that in mind. And like I said, hopefully Karen Reed will make a bajillion dollars from this story and will create a foundation that funds this type of work for people that deserve it, because it's freeing her. And I think this type of evidence will free a lot of people.
And that the people that are actually responsible are brought to justice.
For sure. Because you don't want folks like that running around your neighborhood, and you for damn sure don't want them to run around with a badge and a gun.
No.
So hopefully they shut that down. Well, we have a live stream on our Patreon. We're doing a Q&A where we talk about whatever you want to talk about. On these YouTube ones, we talk about whatever we want to talk about. You're welcome to join. But on the Q&A, it's all about what you want to talk about. So go head over to our Patreon, sign up for that. Join us Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central. It'll be wild if there are closing arguments on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps even a verdict. Depends on, however, on how long closing arguments are. But we'll be talking about this, I'm sure, a little bit. But for the most part, those get pretty buck wild with some funnier questions and hypotheticals
Oh,
and
yes.
things like that. So come and join us on Patreon. We also do true crime headlines where we talk about updates in cases like this and whatnot. So we may update the Karen Reed case as it goes forward. So thank y'all for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much. And for those of you that are close to the scene, the inside knowledge.
Yeah,
and
thanks for the
also,
scoop.
yeah, it's always like when you're talking about a place that you don't live at, and you hear somebody like say something wrong about it, you're like,
You dummy. You
that's
know
not
nothing.
Keller and Fort Worth aren't the same thing.
Get it together.
But everyone was very helpful, so thank you so much.
Yeah, you all are the best. Thank you very, very much. And anything else before we close out?
No,
like
thanks
and
so
subscribe.
much.
Do people say that? Thank you for liking this. I guess you're supposed to subscribe it, send it to a friend. I don't know, but thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
We love
We'll
y'all.
see you
Appreciate
later.
y'all. Thank y'all.
Bye.